Who's ready to party? I know we are. Let's go. And good evening, College Football Nation, and welcome to tonight's edition of CFB After Dark. Ben is not here tonight, so I'm subbing in for him because I'm yours truly, Jackson Johnson, who you often see right here in the chat from time to time, and you often see me on Alabama with the Voice of College Football. But these guys right next to me, you see Spaz from Oregon at the Voice of College Football, and Sean Garner, who is the recurring star on, well, he's one of the three big stars on CFB After Dark. I can tell you right now, it's a wild ride when all of us are combined up together. How you doing tonight, gentlemen?
Good, because you never know when you might get sniffed.
Yeah, no.
Good evening, Pac.
Yeah, no. Mm-mm.
Master,
Spaz?
master,
Spaz?
master leader.
Mm-mm. Spaz?
Hi,
Go ahead.
Master Pac.
God damn it, Spaz. Anyway, so before we start off show, we promote ourselves, of course. Spaz, where can they stalk you online, so to speak?
Well, they can stalk me right there at Sean Spazdrag on Twitter. You could also stalk me on Instagram at Rocky Classic and TikTok at Sean Bryant 75. So those are the places you can TikTok follow me. TikTok paddywhack, give your dog a bone.
You heard here, folks. You can give him a follow on Spazdrag on X, on Rocky Classic on Instagram, and on Sean Bryant on TikTok. You can also check him out every week on Oregon at the Voice of College Football. Oh, what's this? The latest episode of Duts Live, where Spaz and Ben were talking a little bit about Oregon being number one for the first time since 2012. We'll definitely go into that in just a little bit. But first, we gotta get to Sean. He's yearning for attention. He needs some. So we gotta
Love me, say that you love me. Go ahead.
There we go. We're gonna stalk you online.
All right, you can stalk me right at my Twitter handle. Jackson will drop the link there. Nice and official. Obviously, put a lot of care into that Twitter handle right there. And then if you're hanging around the West Michigan area, need someone to grab a beer with or something, hit me up right there. DM me. I'll probably be more than happy to meet any of you guys. So
there we go. I'm telling you right now, let's get old Shawnee boy over to 1,000, man. Let's help him get there.
That's right.
And for those that are wondering where they can stalk me online, they can find me on Jackson Johnson 979 on YouTube. They can find me on Jackson VOCFB on X and on Jackson Johnson 543908 on Instagram and Threads. They can also find me on Alabama with the Voice of College Football, where I host Crimson Tide Live every Monday afternoon, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, 3 p.m. Pacific Time, 5 p.m. Central Time on Alabama with the Voice of College Football. Plus, I host the Crimson Tide call-in show Thursday nights with Jeffrey at Only Talk Sports. On Thursday nights, 9 p.m. Central Time, 10 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Pacific Time. And tomorrow afternoon, Johnny and I will be having Zach Remulus from Missouri at the Voice of College Football to discuss the preview of the Alabama-Missouri matchup. And I'll tell you right now, Johnny and I are basically going to have a venting session. But you know something? I've been feeling pretty sad, but not for the reasons that some people think. That we heard the news from our buddy Joey Foster he's been going through some stuff. He you know he and his wife are going through some health troubles. And tonight we're going to dedicate this edition of CFB After Dark to Joey Foster. You know, he's a great guy who has, you know, he has been he is remarkable for everyone, not just for the voice of college football, but you know, he's a wonderful friend. You know, it's like anytime you need help or you know, he's always there. So let's help him. You know, let's help our friend Joey. You know, and you know, it doesn't have to be via donation on this GoFundMe link set up by Friction Bitson. Yeah, so you could contact her, and you know she can tell you like you know there's ways to you know support Joey and Bavette and the wonderful Foster family. And I can tell you right now, you know I put in something to do my part, and you know you don't have to put in anything, you know, any type of money. You can just tell your friends or family, tell everybody about this link. You know, let's help Joey and Vivette as much as possible because they've helped so many of us over the years at the Voice College Football.
Yeah, there's no question. Echo that 100%. This network would not be what it is without Joey. He does, especially in the early days of this. When Mark expanded this out, he did a whole lot behind the scenes, and you know, kind of helped recruit a lot of the talent that you see all over the network and the show. So you know, we all love him for his humor and his personality and his football knowledge, but you know, he does a lot more that you don't see. So, you know, he's a very, very important person to this community.
Agreed, Sean. Agreed. But you know, I was thinking about some great games that happened, some huge ones, like Georgia Texas. You know, it was so big that Matthew McConaughey was there. Joe Rogan for the Joe Rogan Experience attended that game. Like, you don't see Joe Rogan at a college football game, but you see it at, you know, Texas, Georgia.
You
Although,
really
yeah,
that's because Joe Rogan is famously not a football fan. Like he
no,
famously does not know a thing about football.
no, I don't think so. But I'll tell you one thing, he should
I
definitely
remember.
come on here at some point. You know, we can just be like, oh, well, let's teach you some college football, man.
I would love to come on and talk MMA with them, and I can talk MMA and college wrestling with them. I could have a good conversation with them
Oh,
on those.
oh,
Yeah.
that'd be cool. Like, you know, oh man, Sean Gardner, what's up, man? It's oh man, Jamie, can you pull that up? Jamie. It's like, but yeah, in all seriousness though, the question about like what was your takeaways from Georgia, Texas, gentlemen?
Okay. I don't know. I mean, the main takeaway from watching that game was I was kind of surprised how sloppy and just kind of how poor of quality the play was in that game, and how unfocused and unprepared it looked, especially Texas was early in that game. I mean, it was, you know, it seemed like there was a lot of anxiety on both sides. You know, Beck throwing both quarterbacks, I think, had pretty poor showings on the night. And yeah, and it didn't have a lot of drama either. It was really kind of a dud of a game as far as I was concerned. I don't know. Texas made it a little interesting in the second half, but no real drama towards the end. And yeah, great win for Georgia. They really, really needed it. And yeah, now Texas, they should be able to take care of business until Texas A&M. and then that could shake out to be a potentially huge showdown with big SEC title implications.
For
So,
sure.
well, I don't know. All I can say is, I mean, we've had 3 sort of titanic matchups this year, and the first 2 were just fantastic, and this one kind of sucked.
Yeah.
Yeah. Spaz, stop watching the women play ball. There and
No,
it's,
that's over. Liberty
oh,
or
Liberty Bibberty.
Liberty are finally off the schneid. They won their first WNBA title tonight.
well, congrats to Sabrina Nescu and company.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't even realize that's that connection there. Okay, yeah. So that's why you're so interested. You had so much invested in it.
It's the only reason I watched.
I didn't even put
Hey,
two
Adam,
together.
what do you say to that?
Oh, no.
Spaz, what do you say to that? What do you say to that?
I am a 5-star. Thank you. Thank you, Caden.
So I don't know. Like, if he's a 5-star dummy, does that mean like he's as dumb as it can be, or he's like as close to not being a dummy as possible? Which is dumber? Which is dumber, a 5-star dummy or a 1-star dummy, or a 0-star dummy? What's the Michelin rating system for dummies that we're using here?
I don't know. We could ask our friend Pock.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you this, Caden, you are not coming close to the sniff power rankings.
Oh,
No,
God.
Caden, you're not doing it. Sorry.
No.
So, anyway, quack from the Corn concert. Duts are number 1 bitches from Exploring with Ben and Sam. Glad you tuned in to
That's
tonight's
right.
edition of CFB After Dark. I will say though, so I guess we've anything else from Georgia, Texas that you got questions about, Spaz?
I'm just confused as to why there would be a change in the officials in a game like that. I mean, that was such a bizarre situation. They call pass interference, and then the fans literally littered over 100 bottles of water onto the field. So many that they had to stop play, clean the field up, which gave the officials time to huddle and talk. And then 5 minutes later, they came back and said, no pass interference, Texas ball. Oh, what?
Yeah.
Has anybody ever seen that before?
No. That's a very, very bad look for the officiating crew in that situation.
But yet, is it a bad look or is it a good look? Because they ended up making the right call in the end.
Well, I mean, I don't think any time you're letting you at least give the appearance that you're letting unruly behavior influence your call that it's ever a good thing. I mean, it's a bad look for sure, no matter what. Right?
Absolutely.
And the thing is, they didn't immediately overturn it too. It took a very long time for them to huddle and debate it and come to this conclusion. And obviously, it's not a reviewable play, so it's not like they're looking at different angles from this. They're all
They
playing.
just, what do you think? Oh, I don't know, George. Maybe we should. Yeah, I don't know. What do you think, Paulie?
Yeah. Maybe they were playing like rock, paper, scissors in that huddle to determine what call they were going to make.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what does this game mean for the SEC now? Because like we see that LSU and Texas A&M are unbeaten in conference play.
Isn't it interesting? Not a single team in the SEC is unbeaten now. Huh?
No.
That's
10 unbeaten left in all of college football, none of which are from the SEC.
I'll tell you, it was really critical for Georgia to win this game because 2 losses probably leaves you on the outside looking into the SEC title game. I haven't looked at the tiebreaker criteria, but you're hoping for a prayer if you have 2 losses to get into the title game. And they've got a tougher slate the rest of the way than Texas does. So they really were in jeopardy of maybe losing another game and being left out of the playoffs altogether. Like that was a real possibility if they lost this game. And Texas, I think, obviously because they hadn't lost yet, had a little bit more grace, but Texas also. I know Vandy's a nice story this year, but that's not a team. I don't think they should have much of a problem getting by them. And then that's kind of should be kind of a cakewalk to the A&M game. And then so they should be fine as far as getting into the SEC title game. They still should be able to make it, but Georgia would have been in big trouble had they lost.
Alabama's basically out now.
Technically, they still have a shot. They still have a shot. Not saying that they'll get in because I don't think we should be in, but because the way we've been playing, but it's just been disastrous. Like my God, we've been terrible. Like we're just freaking terrible.
Yeah. I'm looking at this. You've got 2 teams in the SEC who have yet to lose a conference game, and then you've got it looks like a total of 5 teams sitting here with 1 loss, and Alabama's behind the rest of that pack. Bama also has a game against Missouri this weekend. This is the most ridiculous line one of the most absurd lines I've seen in a long time. Alabama's a 14-point favorite against Mizzou this weekend. I don't know where that came from. That is massive disrespect to Mizzou, even though Mizzou maybe deserves it. I don't know. Yeah, and then they're on the road at LSU, and then honestly, a super cakey into the season Mercer, Oklahoma, and Auburn. So, but yeah, one more loss and they're absolutely out of it, and they're probably out of it anyway. I was talking about it with Mark on one of these shows. Like, there's going to, especially with this divisionless setup, there's going to be some really wacky tiebreaker scenarios in these championship games. So there could be a situation where there's 4. There's maybe I don't know, maybe one team, Georgia has 1 loss, and then about 4 or 5 teams all have 2 losses, and how are they going to determine who gets that next bid?
Well, I can tell you right now, there's definitely some rumblings among the fan base as to whether, the team is thinking themselves, Jalen Milroe, Brian Williams, you're the dream duo. Why don't you bail us out?
Thank you.
That appears to be their game plan.
Yeah.
And yesterday that didn't work. That was not working at all yesterday. I mean,
Yeah.
it was not a good day for Mr. Milrow.
Yeah.
Is that
So,
a night game at LSU?
we
I
don't
don't think
know
it's been
yet,
determined
but
yet.
if I had to take a guess,
It
Alabama,
probably will be.
LSU will, yes, it'll likely be on ABC at 6:30 p.m. And I'm gonna say Georgia Ole Miss will be either a 2:30 p.m. game on ABC or they're gonna have it on ESPN at 6 p.m. I don't really know, but we're gonna find out and see about that. But the Crimson Tide and Tennessee, like they were disastrous. Did anybody look at the penalty stats for Alabama and Tennessee?
Oh man, they had so many
Yeah.
penalties.
Alabama
Oh
had
yeah,
15
I
penalties.
caught it at the end of the game. I was watching the end of the game and it popped up.
Oof.
They both teams were in double digit, right? From near 100 yards around there. It was an eye popping number.
Yeah.
I mean, I was going back. I was primarily focused on the Michigan Illinois game at that time, but I saw enough of this game to.
Oh
And
man.
that's another. It's another game, man. I don't know. Tennessee's defense, at least, I don't know. I mean, they appear to be for real. I mean, they've sh- they've shown up every week this season so far. Now, maybe Tennessee's offense. It looks like they did put up some decent numbers in this game, but they have not been the unstoppable locomotive that we thought they might have been after the first few weeks. Like they've been far from that. They've come,
Sean?
crashing way back down to earth. Go ahead. What?
Did
Oh,
spe-
you like froze for a minute.
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Did you hear
Anyway.
what I was saying, or was it just okay?
Anyway, so it's the first time since 1984 that Alabama has lost to both Vanderbilt and Tennessee in the same season.
What year was it? 84.
1984, that's right. And
Oh
that
yeah.
year, yep,
Was it the last time they lost to Vanderbilt? Period.
last time they
Was
lost
that?
to Vanderbilt, period. But the last time they lost to Vanderbilt in Nashville prior to this year was in 1969.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a transition this year.
Alabama finished
Okay.
5-6 in 1984 in the second year of Ray Perkins.
Ray Perkins, that's an old name. Jesus.
Yep.
Yep.
I can tell you one thing though.
I only know him by legend, not by anything I've ever watched.
Well, I will say though, he was a hell of a player in the 1960s from 64 to 66. Had a hell of a performance in the 67 Sugar Bowl against Nebraska. And he was all right. He did what he could, I guess, at Alabama as the head coach from 83 to 86. But I know that he coached at the Giants at one point. He was a head coach there.
I'll tell you one result.
Also, though,
Go ahead.
Wasn't Ray Perkins the predecessor to or successor to Bear Bryant?
Yeah, that's what he said. 84.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, there you go. Ray Perkins was the fall guy for Bear Bryant, just like Kalen DeBoer is going to be the fall guy for Nick Saban.
You think he is?
I think
Yeah,
Kalen,
because why wouldn't he be? Because I mean, everybody's like, "Oh, he's terrible." The Bama fan base is bitching and shit. It's like it's a different It's a different system. It's a different guy.
Tell
It's
me
not what
about
they're
it.
used to.
It's like,
Well, and like I think you can look at this Alabama and Michigan in kind of similar scenarios. I think a lot of people knew. They say, like in theory, it's like okay, it's going to be a transition. We're probably going to take a step back. We'll be patient with it. But as soon as you start losing and you start kind of putting a less than a product less valuable than you're used to out on the field, then all of a sudden that patience that you had in theory just sort of runs out the window and people start to panic. Like, hey, we're not used to not used to being this mediocre, And
It-
I mean, like it's a huge
actually,
transition. I mean, like Kalen DeBoer is nothing
yeah,
like Nick Saban. I mean, they are such different people. I mean, expecting him to come over and just have this, run the same type of
yeah,
program and get the same results it's just
true.
insane. I mean, this is going to be a big transition.
Actually, Caucus Pit, we lost to Louisiana Monroe in Saban's first year on November 17th, 2007, but we did lose to Northern Illinois in Mike Sheila's first year in 2003. And Northern Illinois was a hell of a team that year.
But it's yeah. I mean, but it's tomato. Like I mean, Louisiana Monroe. Yeah, I mean that's an
Oh, yeah.
embarrassing loss.
True.
But the difference is Alabama had just gone through about a decade of mediocrity, a decade
Yeah.
and a half of mediocrity before Saban came in.
Yeah, we had
Now
a
they're
coach. We had a coach that was basically Bobby Petrino before Bobby Petrino, like worrying about he was more worried about how he can smack the ass of a secretary than he was about winning ball games against Tennessee or Auburn or the SEC. But it's like, oh crap, I'm gonna get fired. I gotta lead Alabama to an upset against Florida. Run. Like, oh my god. Like that
it's
DeBose
a good
era. The
it's a good
DeBose,
life if you can manage to do it.
huh?
It's a good life if you can manage to pull it off.
No, I don't give a rat's behind. It's like you can't be thinking about, tapping that butt. You can't be thinking about that. You gotta be thinking about the game. That's what Mike DeBoe should have been doing. He was thinking more about that ass than he was about that natty
Uh,
in 2000.
it's a different type of game, Jackson.
I don't give a rat's
He,
ass. That
he,
natty's
he,
horrible.
he had the game on his mind.
Yeah, well, not the game that we got. So I don't give a rat's ass.
Yeah.
Do not care. It's like, you got a ball game to coach. You got to lead your team to a natty. You can focus on that ass later. Right now, you got a natty, but oh well.
I wanted to say that there was one result that I thought one game that didn't get any attention at all. I haven't heard anyone talking about it. It was this Ball State Vanderbilt game. This game was tied going into
Yeah.
the fourth quarter.
Yikes.
Ball State is bad. They're like a bad MAC team. And yeah, Vanderbilt. Oh my God! And then Vanderbilt for an embarrassing 10-point win over an awful football team gets rewarded with a top 25 spot this week. Okay.
It's like,
right?
It's
Oh,
like,
yeah.
the damn thing is, Vanderbilt has the head-to-head tiebreaker. So I don't think we'll see Vanderbilt go 10-2. But then again, we didn't think we'd see Vanderbilt beat Alabama. So, like, imagine the crazy scenario that Vanderbilt's 10-2, Alabama's 10-2. This could be like a similar to Penn State from 2016 in a way, where it's like I mean, like, there's no doubt that Vanderbilt would get in the playoffs, no questions asked. But it's just what seeding would they be? Will we see Bama get in or no?
Well, yeah, I mean, like that's just a pure thought exercise on Vanderbilt, and they are not going 10-2. I'll tell you that.
Oh,
This
for
is not.
sure.
No.
Oh man. But I will roses are red, violets are blue. I'd rather get drunk at a bar than watch Texas lose at DKR, especially when you got Joe Rogan experiencing it in person. And
Okay.
I can guarantee you Joe Rogan's like, "Oh man, I saw that. Oh my god, I saw Texas losing Georgia.
I smell Pac coming. Adam's
Oh
doing the
yeah,
rhymes.
they lost to Georgia
But,
group. Jamie,
but,
can you pull that up?
Adam, Adam, we were over this last week. The rhyming structure of the roses red, violets blue thing.
Come on,
It's
man.
A B C B. The last line always rhymes with blue. That's how it's supposed to work.
ABC. What?
A B C B.
B.
Yes, it's an A B C
Okay, now
B.
I'm losing brain cells, man. I mean, I am losing brain cells.
Rhyme structure.
Oh god.
Point is the last line is supposed to rhyme with blue. Yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
Jim's got it. Roses are red, violets are blue. The big championship may feature IU.
Yep. And he's asking Jamie to pull it up already. But there is something you can pull up. Texas at the voice of college football from Matthew Miller as he brings out some of the latest news and notes on the Texas Longhorns. Tell your friends, your family, and the cashiers at Publix or at your favorite local grocery store about the magic that Matthew Miller brings out. Stay tuned and don't forget to tell the cashiers at Walmart and Kroger and what's that grocery store in Oregon again, Spaz?
Publix.
No, that I don't think that's in Oregon. But Fred
You got
Myers,
it with
Fred
Walmart.
Myers.
Walmart works, man. We have Walmart out here.
There you go. We tell those cashiers at Walmart, Publix, Fred Myers, all of them about the magic that Adam Lamparello is doing on Rutgers at the voice of college football every week. Let's help make his days get better by getting Rutgers at the voice of college football to 1,000 subs. Let's go. Let's help him get there.
So
I'm gonna say it right now. I'm gonna say it right now before anybody else says anything. Don't you some bitches come into our channel. Take your Colorado buff beating asses somewhere else. Because I dealt with your asses all last year. Don't want to deal with it this year. Will not deal with it. Take your Dion dick riding train on the west side.
Hey, Spaz, are you on the Bearcat bandwagon for this week?
Bearcat. Oh, Cincinnati and Colorado.
Cincinnati, yeah. Going out to Boulder. There.
You got beat by Kansas State. You got beat by Kansas State on your home turf. Shut up and go back to Boulder.
Kansas State's not a bad team, though. They're about to get beat by Cincinnati on their home turf. Bearcats are having a good season this year.
There we go.
Yeah.
Brendan Sorsby, they could use him at IU again this week.
Shoot. But speaking of Illinois, Michigan, you watched a lot of it on Saturday, Sean. Tell us a little bit about your takeaways from that game.
Michigan just they're an utter disaster on offense. They can't get anywhere with any consistency. They don't really do anything well offensively, and all their quarterbacks are bad. Their production outside of their tight end, their wide receiver production it's atrocious. I don't know if a single receiver for them has 100 yards for the entire season. I'm going to look that up right now. I mean,
I'm glad you
they're
mentioned that
putting,
conundrum
yeah,
because it was 100 years ago that Red Grange had that one-man performance against the Michigan Wolverines on October 18th, 1924. Let me tell you, it was wild.
Hey, Michigan did
okay.
pass for 200 yards yesterday.
Yeah, well, they did. They did.
That's the most
And
passing yards they've had all year.
yeah, most of it went to their tight ends. Still only scored 7 points. I mean, it was not, that game was not a thing of beauty. Illinois was in control the entire time, and I mean, like that was probably the worst Michigan performance of the whole year. And if Tuttle had, I think, I forget how many turnovers he had. I think it was at least 3. Or oh wait, no, it was 2 because one of them got called back on a penalty that happened that had no impact on the play. There was a defensive holding on the opposite side of the field, and he threw a pick. And yeah, if he plays like this another week or two, are they going to make another quarterback switch? I mean, like at some point, you just have to think there's something more wrong here than just this one guy that we have. I mean, it's dysfunctional. The team is.
Well, and more
It's quite frankly embarrassing that that they can have a quarterback and receiver play this bad at a school like this. I mean, that just should never happen. You can never allow this product to get this bad. So
yeah, they are a complete utter train wreck at Michigan, and the fact they also lost they lost their star defensive back as well.
he left the game. I don't know what the status is. He out? I've been out of the loop today. So.
I haven't heard.
Yeah. I mean, who knows? I mean, some of these guys they've got some guys in their teams that have some NFL draft futures, and if they start to slide even further, if they lose to Michigan State next week, maybe some of the other ones might pull a hamstring out of nowhere somehow.
Adam, is that a serious injury, or does it look like he'll be back, or do you have an idea?
Let's see.
But yeah, But yeah, this is the first.
Will Johnson's scheduled to be a top 5 draft pick
for sure. And this is the first time since 2009 that Illinois has beat Michigan. Matter of fact, it was on Halloween 2009. And the last time Illinois beat Michigan in Ann Arbor was in 2008.
Yeah. It's been one side. I mean, Illinois has been real bad during most of that time, and it's nice to see them put a competent program on the field. I don't really know that they're that good. I mean, I think they're just okay, and they're competent. They're competent. They're disciplined and tough, but they're not one of those teams that you would fear. I never had any fear that they had much of a shot against Penn State. I don't think they can beat a lot of teams that are better than them, but that was kind of a staple for Brett Bielema at Wisconsin too. It's like, yeah, you take care of business against everybody that's weaker than you, but you don't strike up and strike the big dogs very often. At Wisconsin, so.
But that has me thinking about
bowl eligibility.
yeah, like Illinois is already bowl eligible. I mean, I'm still shocked that they beat Michigan. Like, I mean, I know that I really shouldn't be, but it's kind of sinking in for me that, oh God, this team actually beat the Wolverines. They beat Michigan. I know that the last time they beat Ohio State, sorry to bring this up, Sean, was on November 11th, 2007 on ABC, where Brad Nessler's at the call. Juice Williams led Illinois to an upset.
Yep, I was. I was in my dorm room, probably high as a kite during that game, and I didn't really believe. I thought I was tripping watching them actually lose that game. It was an abysmal one. Watching like I mean, Illinois had a possession where they had the ball for over 10 minutes to end the game. 10 minutes.
My mistake. It was November 10th, 2007. So you were high on November 10th, 2007.
Oh, I remember this vividly. Like Illinois had the ball for over 10 minutes. Can you imagine how long that feels when you're on shrooms in the middle of the game, when you are when you feel like you're floating on the field?
You don't get high on a Saturday during college football season.
You're during the middle of the school. When else are you supposed to get high?
That's the only thing
Wednesday
to do.
when you have classes.
Oh, you have a rat's ass. But in all seriousness,
I had just played a rugby game that day. I was kind of probably bruised.
like,
And I'm let a man medicate here, okay?
I am. It's all good.
And I had to watch
Adam.
Juice Williams convert. I had to watch Illinois hold the ball for 10 minutes and just watch the Buckeyes season just. At that point, you thought the season was over if you lost a game. You weren't going to get into the BCS title game. So the number one team in the country will watch their season just drip away.
Like,
three plays, 10 yards at a time. It was an aggravating experience.
Adam, can you tell us what in the world happened in Rutgers Saturday afternoon against abysmal UCLA Bruins? What was that? Tell us, Adam.
That was a nightmare. Like, my God, it's like, what is going on in Piscataway, New Jersey?
What happened to Greg Schiano, the Greg Schiano player?
Oh man,
that was abysmal. I could not believe it as I was watching that game as the score kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. I'm like, what is going on here? Ethan Garber's 500 yards of total offense by himself. They're almost 400 in the air and over 100 on the ground. I was like, what is going on?
Good.
You know what? I mean, like, I wonder if we gave UCLA a little bit too much shit, because their first three Big Ten games where they got dominated were against Indiana, Oregon, and Penn State. You know, those are not. That's a pretty tough way to start the season in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
So they're probably not quite as bad as the impression.
They went all the way, all the talk on the East Coast to West Coast.
Yeah.
UCLA goes all the way to Piscataway, New Jersey, and has a dominating performance over what was thought to be a decent Rutgers team.
Yeah. And doing it, like, I mean, in the way that Rutgers is not supposed, they beat Rutgers in a way you're not supposed to beat Rutgers at all. Like, just putting up a ton of points and just freaking throwing it on them. over their heads
Up
all
and
day
down.
long.
Up and down the field.
Yeah, UCLA had a competitive game last week against a decent Minnesota team, so maybe they're not quite as big of a dumpster fire as we thought.
Oh man.
Yeah, they
You
probably are.
serious? Oh my god. Oh man.
Troy.
Dave Walensky with the super chat.
Oh, Dave.
And he's
Yeah,
got,
I would imagine John Bosco Prep is
oh
yeah,
man.
yeah.
And he
Oakland does
said,
not have.
he asked, Sean, didn't you go to Oakland University? I don't blame you if you got high. I don't think Oakland has a college football team. P.S. I smoke pot before Gophers games to calm myself down. Oh, well, that explains why you smoke pot. Okay, I mean that's
Yeah.
fair. Like nothing
Most
wrong with
players
pot.
do that.
Yeah, it's
He
like
hit the nail. You hit the
gotta
nail
get
on the
high.
head.
If you gotta get high, do it as soon as you get home on a Monday.
No, you got to do it before the game. That way you can absorb the hits.
That's fair. Yeah, because I mean, if you get hurt, you know,
You're
it
not going to
won't.
feel it if
Won't
you're high.
exactly. I wonder how
Yeah.
Tally must feel.
But when they throw the ball, you got to make sure you're catching the right ball that's coming your way.
Yeah.
Always grab the one in the middle. That's probably the one that's real.
Got it. Oh, wrong ball.
but yeah.
Speaking of catching the right ball, Russell Wilson has just destroyed the New York Jets tonight.
I mean,
Don't get me started on this here. God.
Well, I mean, it makes sense because the Jets are a stinking dung heap with Nathaniel Hackett as an offensive coordinator. As long as they have him as the offensive
Who's
coordinator,
not even calling the plays anymore.
yeah, but he's still there.
Yeah,
that's the point.
Yeah.
And so in conclusion, the New York Jets are fate worse than hell. Although the Carolina Panthers kind of rule that landscape as long as David.
Aaron Rodgers just wanted to get his drinking buddies together to run it back in New York one last time.
Man, I'm already looking forward. I'm already looking forward to the Nets Pat McAfee episode where it's like, you know, the quarterback of the New York Jets, and he brings it all. Give it up for Aaron Rodgers. Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers Wednesday.
Yeah.
10 a.m.
How's the impersonation of the Pat McAfee coworkers? Was it accurate? Does it need a little more work?
I don't know if I've ever been more proud to say anything in my life. I am completely unqualified to render any judgment on this. Because I have no idea.
Not good, Jet. No problem. I don't think it's meant to be a good impression, but it's like I can learn some more work.
One strike away from the Dodgers-Yankees World Series.
Oh, God.
Oh, is that going to be epic?
That's going to be the first time they've played each other in a World Series since
1982.
No, 1982 was the Cardinals Brewers. 1981.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yankees.
Yep, you're right.
So I would like to see like the television demographics breakdown for that. I bet it will be like, you know, those heat maps that show how many people are watching. I bet it'll be two spots of like flaming orange and then a bunch of nothing around the rest of the country.
Yep.
A whole lot of nothing outside of those two markets. Because that is like the nightmare World Series for unless you're a fan of one two teams.
Sandy Koufax Whitey 4 was in 1963, and that was also in no. Yeah, that was in 1963.
You know, A fun fact: my grandfather went to college with Sandy Koufax at the University of Cincinnati, and Sandy Koufax did not play baseball at Cincinnati. He played basketball.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yep.
He was discovered there just playing pickup, and the Dodgers signed him to a contract that didn't even allow him to go to the minors. So he had to spend a year
Uh,
just traveling.
I,
Was it?
I think Troy V. I believe you're thinking of 1981. That was a strike shortened season. But anyway, back to college football coverage on College Football After Dark. Anyway, so where were we on Rutgers UCLA, and what are we thinking about Rutgers going forward, and what are we thinking about UCLA going forward?
Well, UCLA might win a couple more.
Look at UCLA's schedule the rest of the way. I mean, I honestly thought at the beginning of the season they were going to go 0 for the Big Ten, but looking at this, I'm like the rest of the schedule. So they got Nebraska on the road. They're off this week. Then they've got Nebraska, then home against Iowa, at Washington, home against USC. Then they end the season hosting Fresno State. So, probably a bit of a stretch to think that they'll get to 6 wins, but
Um,
I look at the rest of their schedule, and there's not a single game I look at that and say they are just dead meat. Like they have no hope to win these, but they'll probably end the year at around 4-8. Not very good, but
David Greenshield, who I believe he's Dr. Buckeye, correct?
Yep.
Oh, I love that ESPN jingle. Anyway, should UCLA just focus on basketball? I think honestly, I mean, this is just me, but panel, feel free to speak your mind after I speak. I believe UCLA should focus on getting that whole athletic department the hell out of there. They should just focus on that. Get a new department. Just tell everybody you're all fired. Get out of here. Spaz, what do you think? And then Sean Garner, it's your turn.
Oh, I don't know, man. UCLA has got problems. It's going to take a miracle to turn that program around. Both programs in LA are a dumpster fire right now.
Sean, what's your feelings about UCLA?
So I think UCLA as an institution has quite a bit of problems. I think the university has taken on a lot of debt and made some very, very questionable investments in the recent past. I think I think they, a certain investor may have defrauded out of a whole lot of money, and yeah, I think that they have massive debts to pay as a university, and even as an institutionally to begin with, I'm not sure how focused they are on athletics, and they're probably more focused on like Olympic sports than most of the FBS sports. Like they take a lot of pride in having good, a really really strong swim and tennis and golf programs. So, and they want to win the water polo title about as badly as they want to win the football title. So, I mean, unless that changes, they're not going to compete in the Big Ten against these schools. So yeah, there's a lot that they as an institution, as a university, need to figure out. I mean, like at the very, very top level, and that's why, that's why they have somebody like Deshaun Foster in there. And completely, I mean, I don't think I've ever seen a Power Five coach with his kind of qualifications. Like, just nobody would hire somebody. No respectable university that's trying to win would hire somebody like that. I'm not saying anything wrong necessarily about him as an individual, him as a person.
No.
He has absolutely no pedigree for the job whatsoever coming into this. He's just a nice guy and a familiar face. You know, he's just there to hold things over until they figure out what their next move is. So, you know, we'll see what happens here. They need to do a lot. In order to David's point, UCLA hasn't done particularly great at basketball recently either. So it's not like they have that to hang their hat on.
Yeah. Well, I know that Keith Choppin's talking about how UCLA will dog walk USC, and I'm glad we're talking about USC because they had a huge lead against Maryland,
Oh
and then they
man,
blew it. What happened to USC? They're the cock of the walk after that huge victory over LSU, much needed victory over LSU. It's like the LSU game went to the heads of USC.
yeah. I mean, this is an embarrassing season for Lincoln Riley. For them to lose these games to these, I mean, they're 3-4 now. They've lost 4 games. Let's see, Michigan, Minnesota, Maryland. Who was the other one they lost to?
They lost to Maryland. They
Maryland,
lost
Minnesota, Michigan.
Maryland, Minnesota, Michigan, Penn State.
Yeah. Okay. The 3 of those losses they like absolutely choked away in just ridiculous fashion. Just abysmal, embarrassing ways. You look at the Michigan. All they have to do is stop one of the worst offenses in the country from driving 75 yards on them, and they couldn't do it. Okay, I mean,
Yeah.
right. They have 2 touchdown leads in the fourth quarter against both Penn State and Maryland. Can't close them out. You know, they get into a tight game against Minnesota. Minnesota, out toughs them, gets the victory.
Yeah.
And this is it's embarrassing to lose the way USC has lost over and over and over again against teams. I mean, I know Penn State's number 3, and they are a good team, but they're not the number 3 team in the country, not by a long shot. And they're not a team that you should fear with a 2 touchdown lead in the fourth quarter against. Yeah, Maryland, Minnesota, Michigan. I'm sorry, like those are teams. Like if you want to be at the caliber USC wants to be at, and what you hired Lincoln Riley to get you to, you got to win those games. I mean, this team could be 7-0 so easily.
True.
I mean, and really, honestly, it just a big part of it would just be managing the game better, managing situations better than they have. It's not that hard. It's not, but I mean, they're living up to the Pac-12 is soft kind of label. Like they're carrying that stereotype all the way forward.
There we go.
It's just
And
it's I mean, it's actually more embarrassing than if they were getting blown out in these games. I think.
true.
Because this is just you can't keep screwing up like this. You can't.
Oh yeah. And it's gonna be it's a very deflating season for USC. And we'll get to Maryland in a little bit, So now that the Dodgers are playing the Yankees in the World Series, of course, game 1 of the 2024 World Series will be on Friday night on Fox. And I believe, yes, so game 1 will be in LA. And we got USC Rutgers on Friday night on Fox Sports 1. How are we feeling about that, gentlemen?
Good old East Side West Side battle. Haven't had one of these since Pac and Biggie days. So
And you spoke it up, and it showed up on the TV.
Mhm.
Rutgers UCLA on Fox, not Fox Sports 1, but on Fox Friday night.
I think you meant
USC.
Rutgers USC.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, one of them.
yeah. Yeah, you gotta lay off the whatever you're high on. You look pretty high. I'm just messing with you. But anyway,
Yeah.
yeah,
So yeah,
it's
Rutgers.
Adam.
USC minus 14 in that game. Does that seem a little bit long to you? Like
That's
a little bit
high.
heavy?
That's way
Yeah.
high.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hello, Todd Gwynn. How are you? Glad you could join us tonight, man. And Hummus Hero, it's always fun seeing you in the chat. Thank you for coming in. Agreed.
Rutgers
USC.
USC 400 tickets sold so far.
I know that it says it'll be on Fox, but I've got a good feeling that that's going to get moved to Fox Sports 1 because I mean, no way on God's green earth are they going to be having a scheduling conflict. You know, Yankees, Dodgers, and
Yeah, that
Wait,
is true.
is that the World Series is on Thursday, right?
No, it
no.
starts Friday, game 1 in LA.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no question. Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be Fox Sports 1.
Who knows? Maybe it'll be on Fox Business Channel or something like that.
Yeah, I mean,
Move,
Yeah.
after
move Maria Bartiromo off her time slot. Get her out there.
move over, honey. We got USC Rutgers.
Yep.
Yeah, it's like
All right, gentlemen, I'm going to bounce off early tonight. I got other stuff I got to do and finish my dinner. And you guys enjoy the rest of the show, and I'll see y'all next week.
see you next week. And Spaz, what you got going on in your adventures pretty soon?
I will most likely be in Eugene next Saturday for Illinois, Oregon. The first number 1 ranked game at Autzen Stadium. So yeah, be busy week making money so I can go.
There you go.
Hey, can you enlighten us into how you will be making that money?
Oh, I do deliveries.
Okay.
I do Uber Eats.
Yeah.
You periscope it.
Yep.
There you go.
All right, gentlemen. We all have a good evening.
Okay.
And I'll talk to y'all soon.
There you go. Talk to you later. Hey, you can check out the latest episode of Ducks Live on Oregon at the Voice of College Football from earlier today. And I can tell you right now, it was a wild one. But, you know, we saw somebody have a great day on Big Noon Kickoff. It's their best start since 1967. The Indiana Hoosiers winning 56-7 against the Nebraska Cornhuskers.
Who's your daddy?
There we go. Who's your daddy? A wild one.
Wouldn't it be great if Jeffrey just popped on right now? We were just planning that the whole time. Like he was just backstage for an hour. He just came on right now.
Who knows? It could
Jeffrey,
happen.
where are you?
He just might be summoned later on.
That's
But
right.
we're hoping Dr. Buckeye, David Greenshield's coming on here in a little bit.
Okay.
But yeah, we
Nice.
don't know yet, but we'll wait and see. But I thought I put out the correct link, but I did. But anyway, yeah, Phil. But yeah, if you're a Patreon or YouTube member at the Voice of College Football, come on in to CFB After Dark every Sunday night, right here on the Voice of College Football, where you can give out your take on the college football world. And we have summoned Dr. Buckeye, aka David Greenshield. How you doing, good buddies? Nice to meet you.
Hello, gentlemen. How are you? Pleasure to be talking
Nice.
college football with an Alabama fan and a fellow Buckeye fan.
All
OH
right.
to my
It's
fellow
nice
well.
Buckeye
meeting
fan.
you for the first time. Pretty cool,
There you
man.
go.
Yes,
Nice.
very cool. I did want to talk a little bit. I didn't get a chance to talk to Mark today on the Sunday call. I usually call him in on Sunday. By the way, shout out to Mark. I think his son had a wedding, so
That is absolutely right. Much worthy of recognition there. Of
yeah,
course.
yeah,
Congratulations to Mark
yes,
Rogers and his family on his
yeah,
son getting married. And here
yes.
is to a lot of
I
happiness.
saw some of the photos from of him, and I'm just kind of amazed at how Mark produced such good-looking children. It's kind of
Well, yes.
it's
Well,
a
that was
mystery,
his
right?
wife's looks. It's probably his wife's looks. Yeah, Mark would probably
Yeah,
acknowledge that. Yeah,
yeah, so that.
I'm sure Mark would. Uh, did want to talk a little bit about yesterday, guys. By the way, Jackson, I wanted to ask about your squad a little bit. Maybe just because I bet Alabama on the money line, I'm a little bit upset about the game. I had confidence in your team yesterday. Um, is it me or is Jaden Milroe kind of continuing to regress maybe a little bit as a quarterback? I don't know if you've talked about it or what your thoughts
We
are on it, but it'd be
matter of fact,
interested to hear what you have to say.
Jeffrey from Only Taught Sports yesterday, and I talked about it quite a lot on the Alabama Tennessee postgame show, and on the Alabama South Carolina postgame show.
Yeah.
Johnny Burtz and I talked a lot about Johnny put it this way, that Jalen is just jittery, like he's scared or something, and there's rumblings in the Alabama fan base.
Go ahead.
Yeah, there's rumblings in the Alabama fan base that the O line is just like going, you know what, Jalen Milroe and Ryan Williams are the stars. Good for them. We'll let them handle it. But
yeah,
me personally, I'm thinking that it's partly that, but they let that Georgia game go to their heads.
It just seemed to me that there were a ton of wide open receivers that were missed. I mean, I don't know what your thoughts were, but there were a lot of throws that were behind receivers or he missed receivers, and it just, I don't know. It just seems like he wasn't able to deliver the ball accurately down the field. I mean, in a lot of instances. I don't know if you guys saw the same thing, but
I don't know. What I think has been happening a little bit is I think a lot of defenses have realized that outside of Ryan Williams, and certainly Ryan Williams on like 9 routes on deep routes, outside of him, like
Oh, Sean has frozen for just a little bit, but yeah, we are very undisciplined. I mean, because we've got 15 penalties, and I'll be honest with you.
Okay, I should be back now. I should be back now. Can you guys see me? You guys froze for a second.
Yeah. Make a hand signal. Okay. Make a hand signal to let us know you're back. There you go. Nice.
Yeah, no, but I'm saying, I mean, once they realize that's kind of the big trick they have, that's not that hard to game plan and to take away. No matter how good Ryan Williams is at that, no matter how good Jalen Milroe is at throwing the ball. So I mean, they force them to be a little bit, more. I think we had this conversation a few weeks ago, and I referred to Jalen Milroe as a hucker. I think he's kind of a hacker, kind of he's going to he's going to deliver the ball downfield whether it's there or not. That's what he wants to do. That's what he's good at. And now that he has to kind of process things and play the quarterback position a little bit more, in a little bit more nuanced of a way, he's having trouble. And teams are preparing against that. Taking away the one thing he wants to do. And he's struggling because of it.
Well, no, I think you're Sean. I don't normally agree with Sean McDonough, who was calling the game with Greg McElroy the other day, but he made a very
Yeah.
good point. It says that, like, looking at and Jackson, I'm interested to hear your point. And maybe we're used to seeing a lot of the past Alabama teams. When you look at the skill players, you look at the backs, and you look at the receivers. And I Sean, your point is right. I don't see necessarily a second good receiver like they've had in the past. Because usually, they have multiple guys who can hurt you. And definitely at the running back position, Jackson, this probably better than we do. I don't know if you see a difference maker at the running back position either.
There's not. I mean, there's not really a whole lot of difference makers. And I'll be frank with you, this is not only a team that I don't see winning a natty, which that's not going to happen, but I don't see us making it to the playoffs. Because we got to go to LSU in Baton Rouge. But
I think that's a winnable game. I do.
No,
but
I think that's a 50-50 game. I mean, you could win that game.
It could happen, but me personally, I don't like our chances at LSU. And I know Auburn's been pretty sloppy all year, but knowing Auburn, like how they've been this year, it's going to look like that they're playing spoiler for just a little bit.
Right.
But then we're going to be seeing Alabama come back. Like, I don't know why I'm feeling this way, but something crazy is going to happen in the 2024 edition of the Iron Bowl. And something that I've often said, that anytime that there's a sloppy day or a sloppy week in all college football, that means upsets are coming.
Yeah, I could see that. What's interesting about LSU right now is we talked about, you think about that first week of the season, USC beats LSU. And then where are those two programs at right now? You know what I mean? And me and Mark talked about it. I mean, LSU's kind of fortunate. Feinbaum mentioned it today. I listened to a little bit of his conversation, although I try not to listen to as little Feinbaum as I possibly can, maybe. But interesting enough, he was making a point how LSU's kind of lucky to have the record that they have, because they really should have lost to South Carolina. I mean, that was a game that I thought South Carolina blew the game. And but
well, and then they caught some very generous calls in that game as well.
That's right.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. No, I agree.
Yeah.
By the way, USC, man, I know you guys were talking about it, and I listened to Tim in the post game, and I watched some of that USC Maryland game. Is this rock bottom for USC? This has to be. I mean, especially for the Riley era. I mean, wow.
I was the support defender of Lincoln Riley until basically yesterday. I mean, like, at this point, you've lost 4 games in kind of the exact same fashion. Kind of all games you had in the palm of your hand, and you just found a way to screw it up. And I mean, like, and this is year 3, and you're making the same mistakes over and over again. I mean, like, if I'm, I don't know who forget who the AD at USC is right now, but I would be having a nightmare, an internal crisis right now, knowing what to do with Lincoln Riley in this situation. Because he's clearly a 500 IQ level, like just a super genius when it comes to a certain part of football. Like he understands the offense like almost nobody does, and he doesn't even. They don't have pieces on offense this year. They don't have great players offensively.
Well, Sean, I disagree with you slightly on that. I do think Marks at tailback is a really good player, and I do think Branch at
What,
receiver can be
Woody
really
Marks,
good.
yeah. Woody Marks is a good running back, and yeah,
Okay.
Branch is more of an athlete than a football player, or a receiver at least. Yeah.
I think that I think Tim though hit the nail on the head, and a lot of the USC people though. I think they're lacking in the trenches. I think their
Oh yeah.
offensive line
Oh,
just. I mean that's
big time.
that's really where you see it. Is when they played scum, they just couldn't block their D line. I
No.
mean, they just could. That Stewart, that edge rusher, ate up their tackle in that game. They couldn't even block them. So that's really where an area where I
Yeah.
think they're just completely lacking.
Well, kind of like how Oklahoma fired their OC, which I mean, we're going to get to South Carolina, Oklahoma in just a little bit. USC
Yeah.
is definitely going to have to really make some staff changes again, kind of like how they had made some staff changes on the defense. They got to look internally on the
Hmm.
staff as a whole, basically with the O line. You just be like, you know what? You got to go. We're fixing this team. We gotta contend in 2025.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I mean, they've got to contend for something this season, or he's not going to be there. I mean, like he is kind of on the hot seat right now. I mean, like they need to salvage something out of this season in order to like have any sort of justification for keeping him around next year. And I don't know what the financial implications are of him, but if they could move on from Lincoln after this year, but I mean, and a lot of that's going to be harder to determine because they are a private university. But yeah, it looks like they have a much needed bye week. Oh no, they play Rutgers this week. We spent like 10 minutes talking about that.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean,
But yeah,
God,
yeah.
so
Now back
looking
back
at
with you
USC's.
guys. Now
Sorry.
back with you. Sorry.
All right, cool. Yeah. So so I'm looking looking at Rutgers at Washington, home against Nebraska.
Yep.
Then they're at UCLA, and then home against Notre Dame. I mean,
Yeah.
like you've got to find a way to have a respectable finish here, or otherwise, I don't see a lot of justification in keeping Lincoln around because it's just been too much of this for too
You
long.
know how we talked about LSU basically turning around after that loss to USC? Wisconsin has turned around after they lost against USC.
Yeah. Shout out
Yeah,
Luke Fickle.
okay. Okay, I don't want to. I don't like coming on here and bitching about my bad beats and stuff betting, but I put a freaking ton. Wisconsin was plus 15.5 again in the Coliseum that week.
Yeah.
I put a lot on Wisconsin because that line was terrible. That is such an awful. That was trash. Wisconsin found a way to not cover. Like if they played this week, if the two teams played this week at the Coliseum, Wisconsin would probably be favored.
Right. Well,
It was 15.5. Yeah.
Somebody I was listening to a football podcast. They made a good point about Wisconsin. They thought that Wisconsin was kind of caught in between of trying to like transfer into this up tempo passing offense while still trying to have that old school Wisconsin run game smash mouth offense. You know what I mean? And it was like
Yeah.
they were kind of like searching for an identity offensively. Because like Wisconsin for
Yeah.
years, Sean, you know what they are. It's like Barry Alvarez passed down the playbook to every coach they've ever had before then. And, they were always smash mouths with Wisconsin.
Yeah, they ran Barry
Alvarez.
Alvarez. They ran Barry Alvarez's program for 16 years after he retired.
Right.
It was like, yeah. And this was, I mean, but I mean, like I do like their new quarterback, Locke. I think he fits into that up tempo RPO offense much better than Van Dyke or Mordecai ever did. You know,
right, that's true.
He's a much smoother, much more fluid processor in the game. So it's, you know, they just look a lot more efficient. You know, like they know what they're doing. They don't look so herky jerky out there.
May
On
have helped save
offense.
Phil Longo's job there, by the way.
Yeah.
That OC,
Yeah.
Luke's OC.
Mhm.
We've got enemy territory in here, Sean, by the way.
And Todd Gwynn a little while ago. Todd Gwynn a little while ago, you were talking about how Buckeyes are taking over the pen. Well, I mean, I wouldn't say that. I mean, I will say that, as it says in the ticker down below, if you want to be on CFB After Dark, come on in and become a Patreon member or become a YouTube member of the Voice of College Football. Tell your friends, your family, cashiers at Publix, Walmart, Kroger, and all your favorite grocery stores. Tell them to come on in.
Let's not discriminate our West Coast people with Safeway right here.
Hey, what a great year, by the way, man. So much parity. No, you know what I'm saying? People call it the greatest down year in college football. That's not how I look at it. I look at it as a lot of parity. I look at you got a lot of teams that can win a championship this year. People are going to say, people have to say I disagree with it to an extent. People saying it's, you know, all the blue bloods aren't as good as they usually have been. I look at it as, look, we got parity now. They might not be as good as they usually been, but at least we got parity.
Do you think the
Michigan
NIL?
Man, I got a question for you. Would you say that 2024 is 2007 2.0?
Oh, that's a good question. I would say, that's a good question.
I don't think there's any South Florida teams in the top 5, are there? There's no South Florida or Cal in the top 5 this year. Is there? No Boston College showing up?
Well, since we talk about 2007, have we quite seen an Appalachian State happen this year like we did in 2007? I don't know.
Well, Northern Illinois.
That's actually a really good one. Rebuttal there. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
that's a good point. Were those lines equal? Were those lines equal? I don't know. I did not.
Well, I don't even know if there was a line on, because back then they never published like Division I AA lines back then. So
I mean, Vanderbilt even beating Alabama is another crazy. That should never happen. I mean, they were 0-60 before that. So
yeah, I mean, definitely some of the blue bloods have definitely dropped off in recent years. Like, absolutely, no offense, Jackson, Alabama's not what they were.
Well, this year is crazy. I mean, we could go down the list. Tennessee lost to Arkansas. Notre Dame lost to Northern Illinois. Alabama's now lost 2 games for the first time in 17 years. One of those is to Vanderbilt. FSU is 1-6. We can go down a whole list of blue bloods that are just not that good this year. It's wide open, really.
Oh yeah, and Michigan, man. Alabama losing to Tennessee, Vanderbilt this year is the first time since 1984 that it's happened.
Well,
that's what I'm saying. There's not really any like. I mean, look at the top. When was the last time? Well, when was probably 2016 was the last time Penn State was Penn State ever top 3? It might have been 2016.
Mm-hmm.
I think they got 4 or 5.
I feel like they rise to about this spot. Like, well, a couple years ago, like I think they played Iowa in a game. I think that was when Penn State played Iowa. They were like number 2 and number 3 in the country. Like,
Sean,
where's Indiana?
No, I would say that the Saquon Barkley team of 17 that came into Columbus undefeated that year, the greatest JT Barrett game of all time.
Number 2, I think. Yeah,
that is a great JT Barrett game.
But that Penn State Iowa game was in 21, I believe. Penn State went to and that was
Ohio.
That was in but no, Penn State played Iowa. They were like, I think they were number 2 and number 3. I think they were both top 5 teams and
Wait, when was that?
that fell apart real quickly. But
Can I throw out one thing here this year? By the way, that I was just thinking about. Is this a down year for the SEC? And can we make the case that the Big Ten is an overall better conference this year?
I think
I
it's
don't
a
think
down year. I think it's a down year period overall, not just in
I don't
the
think
SEC.
I don't think you can make the case that the Big Ten is a better conference
mean,
overall.
Indiana
Okay.
looks good, but Indiana's what, the third best team in the Big Ten right now?
Well, fourth
Arguably.
Well,
maybe.
who
Yeah.
knows?
Okay,
Like
Penn State.
Indiana's
Yeah, I mean,
Indiana's a huge mystery. They have had a really soft
no, they're
schedule
good.
so far, but
No, they're good.
they murdered it. They've looked like a legit big boy. You know, they've done one in an 18.
Kurt Signetti is not going to be in Indiana very long.
You don't think so?
I don't know.
No,
I don't
there's
know.
going to be a major program knocking on that door. I'm telling you right now.
Well, they said that about Matt Campbell
I'm not
2
sure.
years ago.
I'm not sure that much. I don't really know. Like he's a hard guy to read exactly. I don't know that he has major
No, he's a
ambitions.
great coach. Even Ryan Day, I don't like Ryan Day, but even Ryan Day said, and before the season, he was talking about how great of a coach he was. So he's a great coach,
Well,
man.
they
He's
all
probably the
fuck
best
each
up
other
and coming
up.
coach.
Well,
Yeah, all these coaches fuck each other up. But no, Kurt Signetti is a really good coach.
I mean, guys,
No,
do you realize what he's done? Like,
Here are some things about like Kirk Signetti. One, was he like 62 years old or something like that right now? Like
he started coaching, I think, in his 50s. They said. But here's the thing, man. Look,
oh no,
that program was so in the dumps, right? And in 1 year, he's got them looking like a well-oiled machine. That is not an easy job. That's one of the most impressive coaching jobs I've seen.
Well,
no one will dispute you on that. But
they were. Didn't Tom Allen did have a decent year in the COVID year with Penix throwing the ball to failure, you know, and Fry Fogel and those guys. Although that was in a COVID year, so that might have been a little bit fraudulent that year. I will 2 words though about Signetti though. I will throw out Matt Campbell, by the way, who was the hot hire a couple of years ago and was supposed to be leaving Iowa State, and everybody was going to hire Matt Campbell, but. By the way, tough loss for Iowa State yesterday. By the way, that was
no,
that wasn't
what loss?
No, I think Signetti is a really good coach, but I think he's got to.
But Buckeye, I just want to let you know, Iowa State won yesterday,
38-35, and the 7-0.
Did they pull that out?
Yep. Rocco Beck scored the game-winning touchdown.
It was a back and forth game. They were trading scores.
Did they score? Now, I didn't watch that game. Did they score after that player did the dumb thing that I don't get why they still do, where they drop the ball before they run in the end zone? Did they score on that drive?
Yes.
They did.
That was what cost Central Florida game. And you know this is something that I've always said about Gus Malzahn teams. When everybody talks about Malzahn led teams, they tank. But when nobody talks about them, nobody even thinks about them. They always pull off an upset or they come close to it. And I guarantee you next week, you're not going to hear a single thing about Central Florida BYU. You're going to hear a lot about LSU Texas A&M. You're going to hear a lot about, Ohio State, Nebraska. You're going to hear a lot about several other games. You're not going to hear a single thing about Central Florida BYU, especially with BYU coming to the bounce house. What's going to happen? You're either going to see Central Florida pull off an upset or they're going to come close to it. That I can personally guarantee about Central Florida.
I don't know. I don't know what qualifies as an upset in the Big 12. To me, these teams are like they're all so close. They're all like. I mean,
do you guys think Lincoln Riley is going to be the coach next year at USC?
Yeah,
we were just talking about that actually. Yeah.
It's up in the air.
Staff changes. If I had to take a guess, he's making some staff changes.
Well, I'll tell you this, man. I hope Sharon Moore is fired by the end of our season. I'm just
saying. I wouldn't.
No, man. They need to treat that like 2011 Luke Fickell. That's what they need to treat that like, honestly.
Well, I mean, there is a $5 million buyout. So I mean that
Well,
could
It's
be
only a $5 million bet, and they got to make you think. Why would they make it so low? That means he's probably got a short leash.
yeah.
Oh, well, he had a short leash for so long. I mean, they didn't. He was coaching well into this year without a contract, just on a memorandum of understanding. It was. I mean,
Yeah, but that's
it's one.
common.
It's
That's not.
one. No, no, no. That's very strange. That's very rare. Especially they hired him in like there was one other coach. It was it's the coach at Fresno State. And Jeff Tedford retired like 3 weeks before the season started.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah, but people.
it's real. It's really
Yeah,
goddamn rare. It's
it's
really
not
goddamn
rare
rare.
with Ward Manuel though. He did the same thing with Jim Harbaugh back in 2021.
No, 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 no,
2021.
no. That was they
No,
had
he
a fully
didn't. He
fledged
didn't sign.
contract.
No, he didn't sign. No, he didn't sign his full contract till into the season. He didn't actually sign his new contract. Till I believe I forget which game it was, but Ward Manuel, who I also don't like, he's a reactionary AD. He takes his time. He does everything at a snail's pace. You can look at NIL. You can look at everything he does. Everything's done at a snail's pace with him.
Yep. Good point.
Well,
Good point. Dave Valinsky in with the second super chat. Thank you very much, Dave. We appreciate your contribution. And he says, I think the underrated ACC is better than the overrated SEC. Yeah, I went there. Gentlemen,
I ain't going there.
Yeah, yeah. Sorry, Dave. That's just
No,
no.
I want to pose one question. If you eliminate Sharon Moore, are you convinced that after the first of the year, you guys aren't going to get anything from the NCAA? And how could that affect your hiring of a new coach, if so?
It depends on what we get. I don't know what they're gonna do. I think from what I've read is the reason that they were harsher on the other penalties because they were C-19 related. They were big on anything dealing with C-19 because you weren't supposed to be in contact with anybody. I don't know what they're gonna do. Nobody really knows. We gotta wait. It's a wait and see game. If it's just light sanctions, it could be heavy sanctions. I have no idea. And we're gonna know. We're gonna know what in 3 weeks? No.
It'll be like the end of November or something because
we're
that'll
gonna
be
know
the
soon.
90-day period. So,
Yeah, we're gonna know soon.
There are some signs that the sanctions will be fairly significant. For one,
Like what?
so for one, the NOA hasn't been leaked. So you would imagine if the penalties were fairly light and the allegations were fairly frivolous, that Michigan would have released that information because it only benefits.
But my counter to that is
I have just a couple more, 2 more points, and then real quick. So nothing from the NOA has been released, and it would really behoove them if the sanctions were going to be really insignificant for Michigan to publish that information. Be like, hey, recruits, hey, Andrew Babalola, hey, Bryce Underwood. Bryce Underwood, we're not getting any bowl bans. We're not, we're going to have to pay a $5 million fine. That's all. That is it.
So
that was point one. And then if you have paid attention to some of the language that Ward Manuel and other people in the athletic department have taken with the media, it's been far more conciliatory and far less antagonistic than it was prior to the NOA being delivered.
Yeah. So a couple things with that.
I'm not saying it's going to be like the death penalty, the hammer. They're going to get a 4-year bowl ban or anything.
All right, hold on.
There's something in there. It looks like to me they're a little bit like anxious about.
Yeah. Okay. So a couple things. They didn't leak the official NOA, but a draft did get leaked, and the report did come out post the draft when they received the actual NOA that there wasn't much differences from the leaked draft. So there's really no reason to leak the official. That's one. Two, if it could be bad, we'll see. But if it was severe and they do have it, the fact that they're keeping Sharon and they signed him to a $5 million contract, even with the information they have, leads me to think it's not going to be as bad as they say it is. Because if it was as bad as
Right.
some people on wide rival fan bases say it is, I don't think they would keep Sharon Moore personally. I don't think they keep him at all. I don't think they would have signed him to a $5 million or to a 5-year contract. And two, I figured what was your last point? You went through like a bunch of points there.
Okay, no. I'm okay. So what was my very last point there? It's the language that they've been using has been some of the interviews that Ward and the university have given to it have been far less hostile, far less combative to the NCAA.
Oh, yeah,
They've
that's
been
what it was.
they've been a little bit more like conciliatory, a little bit more reflective.
Yeah, and that's easy to explain.
We gotta be honest. Yeah.
That's easy to explain. In my personal opinion, the reason they were more hostile during last season was because, let's keep it a buck, they were trying to win a championship. Okay, so they were going to be more hostile.
I'm even talking after last season. They were kind of thumbing their nose at the NCAA.
Yeah, well, I understand that, but
all the
the
way
reason
until August.
Yeah, I disagree with that. I think during the summer and towards the season, they started to get a much more, like you said, change of language because the championship season is over. There's no motivation to be as hostile and to postpone things and you know what I'm saying. During the season, I kind of understand what they're doing that, but again, no one knows anything. We're going to see what happens, what their decision is. One thing I do know is that they're much more harsh with things related to C-19 because it was a quote-unquote health concern. It was a big deal at the time, so they treated that more harshly. We'll see what they do. I don't know. And to answer Dr. Buckeye's question, because I didn't answer it, he said, why would a coach come there if the sanctions are heavy?
I said, how do you think that would affect? I mean, if a coach is looking at it and they would possibly face sanctions, how less enticing does it make the position? Is what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's a tough question because it depends on what the sanction is, right? So if the sanction's like something like, I don't know, I don't like. Give me an example of a type of sanction. There's so many different
like a bowl
types of
ban.
sanctions.
Like if you lose scholarships, if you get scholarship reductions, and then you get, let's say, a 2-year postseason ban.
A 2-year postseason ban would be difficult. I ain't gonna lie. I don't think they're gonna do that. I could see them doing something like a heavy fine and scholarship reductions. If they do a postseason ban, though, that probably would factor in it. But at the same time, it's a dream job for most coaches. Like, for example, I think they should go after Kurt Signetti. That's be the first guy I'm calling. Is Kurt Signetti or Kurt Signetti. There's probably some other big fishes you could find out there. I would even say, I know this is going to sound, I'd take Urban Meyer, man.
Well,
I would take Urban Meyer.
I just want to say that real quick. I listened to the post-game show a little bit, because I wanted to maybe drink from your tears a little bit yesterday, but that's in any case, I heard the Meyer Saban names kind of thrown around in the post-game show yesterday you guys had, and I just think that both of those coaches don't want anything to do with college football as we know it right now. First of all, Saban's already said it. He testified before like the House or something even about it. He went as far as that, where it used to be they would just go out and put up top 2 or 3 classes, string together 4 or 5 of those, and that's how they would win games. It's a different world right now. And I think the reason that the competitive balance is closer is because Saban and Meyer can't do what they did years ago by stringing together that many classes, because you have an NIL and because you have a transfer portal. So they're not crazy about that college football world. A lot of coaches aren't crazy about that college football world.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree that's with the older guys like Nick Saban. When I say Nick Saban, that's just me trolling a little bit. I know Nick Saban ain't ever going to go back to coaching. He's in his, how old is he?
74, I think, right? 73,
he ain't never going to go back to coaching.
Nick Saban will be 73 years old on Halloween of 2024.
He has no reason to go back to college. He's the undisputed GOAT. Will probably always be the GOAT. No one's ever going to have 7 national titles again in the span that he did. He has absolutely no motivation to go back. Urban Meyer, I can see Urban. Now, I don't think he'd go to Michigan personally. Maybe with the right number, but he's going to coach again. I personally think he's going to coach again. Whether it's USC, I can see him going to USC if they fire Lincoln Riley. I can see him going back to Florida if they fire. He just has. I can't see him. I can't see him retiring his legacy on that Jacksonville gig. He's got an ego. I think if the right opportunity opens up, he will 100% do it.
If Notre Dame opens up like ever,
He would take
you
that for
think
sure.
he goes there? What'd you
I
say,
think
Nick?
he would. Yeah. He would, yeah.
I could see that. But speaking of Matt Campbell,
His name is Urban. I mean, the only people I've ever heard named Urban are Urban Meyer and Popes.
well, Urban Meyer's
So
not
obvious.
on the he's
Yeah.
not on the show topics tonight because tonight's topic is separating the pretenders from the contenders.
Yes. I go ahead. I'm sorry, Jackson.
Sorry about that. Go ahead, Dr. Buckeye, and then
No, I want to get to that, like about the just the competitive balance this year in college football. You know, Mark had said, you know, interesting 07, you brought up that comparison, Jackson. Remember, the national champion, unfortunately, as an Ohio State fan, I remember it that year, was a 2-loss team. We could have a 2-loss national champion this year. And Mark was talking about it. Within the next few years, we're going to have a 2-loss national champion because of the 12-team playoff. So I actually think the parity, I'm not opposed to it. You know, I mean, the good thing about Ohio State is we're normally within the mix, whether, depending, no matter what the structure's been, but I'm for the parity. I'm not opposed to it.
Yeah, I am too. Now this year, I do think it's a little bit more of teams just aren't as good because it's not like some of these teams are losing to other premier matchups. I mean, they're losing the bottom feeders. A lot of these teams, Alabama. We can go down the list again. I'm not going to rehash that. But in terms of contenders, it's obviously Oregon, Penn State, Ohio State, Georgia. I don't even know if I could call Alabama a contender right now. They're not really.
No.
They probably should have lost to South Carolina as well. If we're being honest,
I can't really argue that. We had Butterfingers on the onside kick, and honestly, had it not been for South Carolina being so inaccurate, being so disastrous, we'd have lost the South Carolina. And South Carolina's just been a very up and down team. They had a close win against Old Dominion. They smacked Kentucky into another reality. They lost a tight. They blew it against LSU, blew it against Alabama, got smacked by Ole Miss, and now they do the smacking against the Oklahoma Sooners in Norman, Oklahoma. And Shane Beamer's first return to Oklahoma for the first time since he left Oklahoma for South Carolina.
By the way, there's a program in bad shape. Just want to say, Oklahoma, there's a program that's hurting right now. If you want a program that's hurting and a coach that might be, if the seat's not hot, it's going to get real hot soon enough for Brent Venables, by the way, I think.
Yeah.
Well, and I think
feel bad for them though. I mean, like they're that injury situation at Oklahoma. It is absurd how badly they've been burned by it. Yeah.
You know what I can see happening?
He's already there because he pretty much made that point by firing Seth Luttrell as of today, a few hours ago. And there were numerous calls from Sooner fans saying, okay, Seth Luttrell's got to go. He needs to get out. There's no winning with this guy as OC. Nothing, zero zilch. What happened?
Here's something interesting that could happen. So let's say USC parts ways with Lincoln Riley, right?
Okay.
Could you see Oklahoma maybe thinking
they're not going
to want to move on and go back to Lincoln Riley? I'm just saying.
I think Oklahoma is going to do what they've always done. They're going to do what they've always done. Go for an offensive coordinator or a defensive coordinator, especially one that's on the rise. Like they've done that their whole career. All the winningest head coaches in Oklahoma were inexperienced head coaches. That Oklahoma was basically their first. It was their only job as head coach.
Yeah, Bob Stoops is only head coaching job ever. Yeah,
Right.
Bob.
Yeah.
Barry Switzer, Bud Wilkinson. I know Chuck Fairbanks. I think Chuck Fairbanks. He was at Colorado afterwards. But that was like a decade.
Yeah, I don't. Do you guys think we'll see another undefeated champion for a while? I don't think. I don't. It's gonna be tough to go undefeated now.
It's going to be harder to do just because the schedules are harder now than they were
Yeah.
in the past.
And the
So,
alignment and the conference alignment's tough
yeah,
too.
well, that's the whole. Yeah, that's the whole part of it.
Yeah. I
Like,
was.
there's no divisions, so it's you can't coast your way off of beating a lot of bad teams the whole
Well,
way.
yeah, I was just going to say the Big Ten's a better conference this year. I mean, our conference is a better conference this year.
I would argue it's actually worse than it's been the last couple years. That's just me. I think.
Okay.
Well,
No,
I would say Oregon has replaced Michigan this year. I think it's still a three. We'll see how Indiana is. Okay.
Okay.
Indiana, I think, is pretty good, but they need to play. They need to play some. Who's their first real game? I'm talking like between who did they got? They got Oregon. Did they got Oregon?
Well,
They got Ohio State, right?
they've got Ohio State. They do have Ohio
we got
State.
them later in the year, like after the Penn State game.
It's,
I know
it's like the week after the Penn State game.
Indiana,
Yeah.
Ohio State will be on the week before rivalry week.
Right, the week
Do
before.
they play any of the other? Do they play Penn? Do they play Penn State
No,
or
they
Oregon?
don't. Indiana doesn't
Okay.
play Penn State or Oregon. They do
Okay,
play
so
Michigan on November 9th.
And Indiana's had kind of a godsend schedule so far.
no, they're good. Man.
But like that, that's not to diminish anything they've done because they've looked like a killer.
They haven't
Yeah.
trailed once all year.
No.
I don't care who
They-
you
they've been
play.
good.
You play 7 games and you haven't trailed once all year. That's impressive.
right. Although it would be
Yeah.
interesting to see if they go 11-1 and 10-2 and make the playoff, what kind of matchup they would get as, let's say, like a 5th seed or like a 6th seed, maybe 7th seed or something. I really wonder who that would be interested. Then you'd kind of really be able to tell once they amp it up, how good of a football team they are. I'm not saying they're a bad football team. I think they're going to probably go at least 10-2, maybe 11-1. They could go 11-1, but at least 10-2 and make the playoff. Right now, what do you think? 4 Big Ten teams get into the playoff right now?
That would not.
I mean, like,
I think
yeah,
honestly-
that's probably about right.
Yeah, that's very possible.
Yeah,
actually.
honestly, Dr. Buckeye, I believe it's going to be 4 Big Ten teams, 4 SEC teams.
Okay.
It could be more, but I think it's going to be.
Right, so then there's a guaranteed 5 conferences that'll be represented.
Yeah.
So that
Penn State, Ohio State game.
that leaves open
huge.
the other spot.
Yeah.
I can tell you this.
Right.
Whoever's
So you're saying like 3 of them will go?
Yeah, whoever's in the SEC title game, no matter who wins it, they're both in the playoffs. No matter who wins the Big Ten title game, regardless who wins that conference title game, they're in.
Mm-hmm.
The one you really want to watch for is, are we going to see the Big 12 runner-up or the ACC runner-up get in the playoffs?
Right.
Now, if it's Clemson, Miami playing each other for the ACC title game, no questions asked, it's going to be both those teams getting in. If it's like Clemson, SMU, or Miami, Pittsburgh has to win. SMU has to win.
Miami's dancing on the minefield, by the way. If you ever seen a team the last 3 weeks dancing on the minefield, I think some of the officials in these games must have condos on South Beach or something. I don't know.
Hey guys, speaking of that,
I saw Miami do this in 2017, and I saw TCU do this.
I
saw TCU do this 2 years ago. TCU won every game 45-42.
Right.
2 years ago.
Yeah, they did that in 20. Yeah. But have you guys ever seen a referee situation like in that Georgia Texas game? Where they called the PI?
We talked about it earlier with Spaz on the show. It was disgusting. It's an awful.
I think that's such a bad precedent to set because what's to stop fans in the future from throwing stuff on the field if they think it's going to influence a call?
Yeah.
Good Lord.
That should be penalized.
No, and I mean, if you're throwing stuff on the field, like you should be let out in handcuffs. Like
Right.
just
Yeah.
no,
You got to get
like
security over there and
you're
clear them out. Yeah, I agree.
Well, it should be. That should be a
You're a
rule. They should
scumbag.
put
You're
like
a
it's like a.
degenerate. Get out. Get your ass out of here.
It should
Yeah.
be treated like a sideline warning. It should be like a okay. You do it once, that's a warning.
Mhm.
You do it again, it's some type of penalty because you can't change your decision because if they don't throw the balls on the field, they're not huddling up to change the call. Right? The Georgia runs another play and then that never happens. It's just crazy.
Yeah, I mean that almost flipped that game. By the way, and they make it 23-15 right there. And well, give credit to Georgia because they were obviously clearly the better football team in that game. By the way, a lot of people were dogging Georgia. Well, pardon the pun, I guess, after that loss in Tuscaloosa. But what, Kirby's crew, give them credit, man. They went in there, they dominated that line of scrimmage last night, which was really impressive because people were talking up that Texas offensive line, by the way, for a few weeks,
Yeah.
and that Georgia front seven got after them.
And you know what? I think that says more about their defensive
Michael
line
Williams?
because
How much money did Michael Williams make last night?
Good call,
I
Sean.
mean,
Yeah,
my
probably
goodness,
some
yeah,
dough.
yeah.
I think that says more about Georgia's defensive line because I still think Texas has arguably the best O line in the country. Still, I just think that
Yeah.
says more about Georgia's defensive line. Honestly, they have the potential to still be the best defense in the country. When they're on their A game, they're the best defense. When they're on their A game, they are the best defense.
Yeah, I don't dispute that. But the one thing I have about this, you said when they're on their A game, right there.
Yeah.
The one thing I'm just going to have an issue with until Georgia wins the national championship and proves me wrong, I think this is a ridiculously immature team. Like absurdly, like like
What do you mean immature?
I don't think this team. I do not think this team has championship DNA. They've got a lot of talent.
I 100% disagree with that.
And
Well,
you 100% disagree with it? No.
To say that they don't have championship
and one
DNA.
thing, I want to publicly shame the SEC for even allowing Kirby Smart to coach this game. You do not fucking two fist shove the opposing quarterback
yeah, that
and
was
receive
bad.
no penalty.
Oh, you're talking about the week before.
That is a joke. That is a disgrace to college football. That he received no penalty whatsoever. He didn't get penalized in the game. He did not. Like the SEC didn't sanction him for it. They didn't even issue like a reprimand, a public reprimand of it.
Sankey,
That's
where are you,
Yeah.
man? Greg
I
Sankey,
I mean,
That
look,
is
come on.
I think they're going to
Here's
win the
why-
championship. They're my
Here's
pick right
why
now.
Kirby didn't get punished, and I don't like this same more than you guys do, but here's why: because winning cures all. If he wasn't a winning coach, if it was somebody else, like say, Billy Napier or Dave Aranda, they'd be thrown out of town out on a rail.
Right.
Yep.
Is that why Hugh
Yeah,
Freeze
they-
got
look.
away with?
If Georgia was playing Mississippi State this weekend, they would have suspended him for this game.
True,
No.
what
Or
Dr. Buckeye?
he played Mississippi State. That's if he was playing Oklahoma this week, they would have said,
I'll
"Nah,
let you.
Kirby set this one out." Yeah.
I
No, I
couldn't
was
hear
just-
Dr. Buckeye. What did
No,
he say?
no, Jackson. I was just going to make the point about maybe that's what was going down in Ole Miss with Hugh Freeze. Maybe there's some people turning a blind eye to all of his, shenanigans for those years. By the way,
Yeah.
Yeah, which look, but here's the thing. They're my pick to win the national championship right now. I just think overall, when Kirby Smart has them going, they're the best team in the country to me. That they just are. They're capable of beating anybody. Their defense, I think, is the best defense in the country. Personally, they remind me of some of those Alabama teams that would lose a game to Ole Miss early in the season and then start to pick it up as the year went on. That looks like that might be what they're doing. So they're my pick to win the championship. They've got the proven pedigree to do so. So,
well, the rest of their schedule is going to have some tests on. I mean, I still think the Tennessee game could be interesting. Although I still have my doubts about Tennessee, even though they pulled out that game yesterday. although that offense came alive in that second half. I mean, I asked somebody, is Nico a better quarterback than Hendon Hooker? Do you think he has a higher potential than Hendon Hooker from 2
I don't think
years
he's
ago?
playing better right now.
I don't think so either, and that's why.
We're judging Hendon Hooker off of his 6th year, 2024 season. Nico's 19.
Okay.
Nico's
That's
only like
true,
2.
but he's still not. He may,
Yeah.
but here's the thing: he may reach that point
He's way more
at some
physically
point in the
gifted than
future.
Hendon
But
Hooker.
right now,
No question.
right now, he's not playing anywhere near that. And we're talking about this season. So we're talking about this season.
Yeah.
I don't think he's playing at a good enough level because honestly, and Dr. Buckeye, you can tell me if you agree with this. I think the Alabama defense is not that good this year.
It's suspect.
obviously
It's
not.
suspect. Yeah, you're right. I agree with that. Yeah, but that kind of proves the point that I mean, I thought Tennessee's offense. Well, the one thing though Hooker had 2 years ago, that Hyatt Tillman combination was really good at wide receiver. By the way, that kind of helped him out quite a bit. Although I think Hyatt still robbed Marvin from Politnikoff 2 years ago, but that's a different discussion for a different day.
For sure. And we didn't get to talk about Miami Louisville, and we talked a little bit about Miami.
Yeah.
They got another close win, one against Virginia Tech. We saw how that ended. Another one against Cal. Cal blew that game. I mean,
Did they play Clemson?
I did want to have a point on that. I didn't want to add one point on this Hendon Hooker discussion before. Hendon Hooker kind of came in this offense when this Heupel offense with those stacked wide receivers they play and they play super wide. That was kind of I mean that was just really kind of novel at that point in college football. That he and Hooker, I think, benefited quite a bit from defenses not knowing how to adjust to it. Defenses have studied this offense that Heupel runs a lot more since then, and we see Nico when he's run up against some of these offenses that aren't as prepared for it, and he looks amazing. He looks unbelievable. So it's I mean it's and Hendon Hooker, his early NFL returns are terrible. So it's
the trip to Athens will be the judge, gentlemen. I think we all know that.
Yep. Absolutely,
the trip to Athens will be the judge.
But
You were saying about Miami. I'm sorry. I thought Jackson was.
I did.
Miami.
We were talking a little bit about Miami and Louisville. Seems to me Miami's gotten lucky again, gentlemen.
Yeah.
And
Cam Ward got that.
So Miami has not won the ACC since they joined in 2004. They've only been to the ACC title game in 2017.
Right.
That's pretty much it. Is 2024 the year where they finally end that conference title drought?
It's highly possible. I mean, they're as big of a contender as anybody.
Clemson's going to beat them.
Yep. I hate to agree with Team Up North Man here, but my pick at the beginning of the year, I had Miami making the playoff, so I did have 2 teams from the ACC making the playoff. I had Miami and Clemson because I think Miami will make the playoff as a slip in there, but I think they lose in the title game to Clemson. I just think they're dancing on the minefield right now, although I will say this. Is Cam Ward still one of the leading candidates for the Heisman, or is he's got to be up there right now, right?
Yeah. I
absolutely. Absolutely, he is.
I'll tell you what. If he wins every game but the Clemson one and has a great game in the Clemson game, he probably will win the Heisman. He gives me. He's not this type of player, but he gives me that feeling. Like when you watch Pat Mahomes, you just feel like he's going to make plays to win the game.
Yeah.
That's how it feels watching Cam Ward. He seems to always be making game-winning plays. I wish Sharon Moore wasn't so arrogant and went after Cam Ward, man. Even though it would have still been a dumpster fire, but it would have been nice.
Where was that Portnoy cash when you needed it, big man? Where was the Portnoy cash?
He was a little late on the offer. He started to think about cash? That. You should have thought. You should have offered that.
Gentlemen.
Where's the Stephen Ross money?
Ohio State, Michigan trash talk is coming soon on Rivalry Week. Rivalry Week's coming. This is October 20th, not November 20th.
Well, keep it a buck with you, man. They probably gonna get their first win in 3 years. So
Okay.
I don't see how. I don't look. I don't know if you watched the Michigan game, Jackson, but it's a very poorly coached team. It looks like
Yeah.
a coach that's in way over his head and doesn't really have any coaching experience, which he doesn't. He was
Well, I'm
an
gonna
OC
make
for 1 year.
Michigan, man. I'm gonna make this quick point, then I'm gonna move on to this Nets game.
Okay.
Michigan will be going against Michigan State next Saturday on the Big Ten Network. And here's a stat that for those that don't know about it, well, you're gonna learn about it tonight. Well, you'll learn about it tonight right here on the Voice of College Football before ESPN Fox will tell you this. Last time a first-year head coach at Michigan led Michigan to victory against Michigan State was in 1948 under Benny Osterbein.
Wow.
That's a crazy stat. I ain't gonna lie.
Wow.
You know another crazy stat though, Jackson. Michigan has three passing touchdowns on the season to 9 interceptions.
Yeah, that's bad.
Wait. They've thrown 3 passes. 3. Wow.
3 to 9 interceptions.
But what if Sharon Moore leads Michigan to victory against Michigan State next Saturday? Like what if he could accomplish something that Bo Schembechler, Jim Harbaugh, Lloyd Carr, Gary Mueller couldn't do in their first year? But what does that do?
I think you have to judge. I think you have to judge based on what's going on now. This Michigan State team is an okay team. If they beat them, they're pretty much just beating a team that's either on their level or honestly, Michigan State might even be a little bit better right now. I ain't gonna lie. So it really doesn't say much. They might pull it out, but in my opinion, who cares? The guy is way over his head. They kept him to keep players, but what does it matter if you keep players if you can't coach them? So at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. They need honestly, I'm one of those guys that thinks long term. And I hope we lose every game this season because I want to hire someone that actually got a track record of coaching a football team.
Well, what did your wrap up show guys say? Better coach, better quarterback at Sparty this year than you guys. Is that going
That's
out
true?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was going to say Sparty won 32. Hey, Sean,
yeah,
on in for the After Dark panel. Anyway, Michigan State dominated Iowa 32-20.
Wow.
I mean,
Iowa's not as good,
a little bit of a strong word, but yeah.
But Iowa's been kind of a mixed bag this year.
Yeah,
we've seen them score 40 points last week against Washington. They dominate Minnesota in huge fashion on NBC. I mean, that game was too violent for the children to watch. Let's put it that way.
Well, you know what though? I do like Sparty's quarterback. Sean will tell you. I mean, Sparty moved the ball at times pretty well against us. If they wouldn't have had some bad turnovers in the red zone, that game could have been a little bit closer. And they have some receivers who can make some plays here and there too. I mean, I think their coach can eventually get Sparty. I'm not saying that he's going to get them back to the D'Antonio era. I don't see that happening, but I think he can get
like a level off, like where they're a top 15 team, right? Top 20,
Right, where they can at least be a 9-3, maybe occasionally 10-2 kind of football team. Yeah. I think he can get Sparty back to that kind of level. But I was a little bit of a surprise to me. I mean, I like the tailback. But yeah, I'm surprised Sparty dropped 30-some points on their defense too. That surprised me.
I'm honestly not that surprised. Here's why. I think that Iowa's defense isn't as good in the secondary as they've been. They're not as. If you looked at the games where they've struggled or lost, they're getting beat from in the air. You're not going. Minnesota wasn't going to beat them trying to jam the football down their throat. You know what I'm saying? Like that wasn't. The form this year, they're just not as good defensively, honestly. And on the offensive side of the ball, they're Iowa. I mean, if you're able to pass the ball, you can beat that team pretty good.
And it's worth noting that Sebastian Castro, who's probably the best player on that Iowa team, their outstanding sort of nickel safety hybrid, corner hybrid, he was out last night. So That was a fairly significant absence for them. So I mean,
That's true. I mean, they did
yeah.
lose to Iowa State, and typically in years where they lose to Iowa State, they're typically not as good. But
Yeah, they really blew
Well,
that game against Iowa State, though. By the way, I thought they let that one get away. They
and,
were in
and,
control of that game.
and Iowa State's a very good team too.
Yeah,
So it's not, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I really
Well-
hope that BYU and Iowa State are unbeaten going into the Big 12 title game. This way, the runner-up doesn't get screwed over. But then again,
I mean, Dr.
anything can
Buckeye,
happen.
Yes.
Dr. Buckeye, you were talking about Miami playing on a minefield. What about Iowa State UCF last night? Talk about Iowa State playing on a minefield. They almost blew it. If Rocco
They
Beck
did.
didn't save them in the end.
Yeah.
They did. I agree with that.
Well, and we saw Kansas State smacking West Virginia this week. What's the future of Neil Brown? What's it looking like for him? Do we see him getting fired? Who would be the coaching candidates, like the top 3 coaching candidates for West Virginia? I'm going to start with you, Dr. Buckeye.
I have a feeling that Brown could survive this season. Maybe.
Think so?
I think he can survive, and I think he can get one more year. Maybe it's a gut feeling there. I think they can turn it. I actually had thoughts at the beginning of the year that they had a shot, an outside shot to keep that Penn State game close and maybe take it at the end. But I think he keeps the job for one more year. Just a gut feeling.
Okay. Sean, what's your feeling on West Virginia? And if they fire Neil Brown, who are your top 3 coaching candidates to go?
I think it's right now 50-50 whether he's able to keep his job or not. That's just, I mean, it'll depend on how they end the year and, really just how much the donor base revolts against him or not. I mean, obviously, I think the number one candidate for all these kind of like mid to lower tier Power 4 jobs is probably Jason Candle in Toledo. Like that just seems like a good transition. Like he has been at the top of these lists forever, and Toledo just continues to produce good football teams year after year. And I mean they're having a good year this year despite losing a really healthy chunk of their potential roster to NIL offers. So,
Can I just
like he would be probably at the top of that list for me. And then,
Sure.
just can I
Dr.
real
Buckeye.
quick? Yeah,
Okay,
just
go.
real quick. What's the number? I think he can get to 7-5. I think they can get to 7-5 with the remainder of their schedule. Do you guys think there's a number he's got to get to keep his job? I was just going to put that out there.
I think I'm completely on your level there. I think he
Honestly,
needs to get
has to
7-5.
West Virginia really has to win out. They have to beat Arizona next Saturday. They got to beat Cincinnati, Baylor, Central Florida.
Nah, he's gone. He's gone.
Well, my thing was, and I've told Jackson this, the day after he lost the Pittsburgh game, I was like, that's it for Neil Brown. He needed to win that game just like last year because there was all this hype going into the year about him. And we all thought, okay, maybe if they keep it close with Penn State, it could be a building block.
Right.
Some people even thought West Virginia could win that game. But then it became the pick game. If you win the pick game, your job could be possibly secure. Then he loses it, and this is happening.
Michigan man, what's your take on the West Virginia coaching situation? And if they decide to fire Neil Brown, who would be your coaching candidates? Go.
Coaching candidates, man, I don't know, man. I have to look into that. That's a program that's a program where someone looking to, kind of be a placeholder and make a name for themselves, and then eventually try to move up goes to. So I don't know, man. You could pass me up on that question.
Okay. Well, we'll go on this next game. The Florida Gators.
We should talk about Pitt though for a second since we mentioned them. They are undefeated right now.
Yes, they are. And Next
Yep.
Thursday, they've got Syracuse coming to their backyard.
Yep.
That's
Honda,
gonna be a
Honda,
game.
yep. Honda McCord rolling
Yes.
right through.
Our buddy Honda. Yes.
Yep.
By the way, Pat Narduzzi
That's
needs to
gonna
get
be.
more love, by the way, as a coach. I just want to
I
say that.
know, right?
Pat, we
Thank
need to
you.
get
Right.
we need
I've
more Pat
never
Narduzzi love.
understood the hot seat talk on Narduzzi in the preseason. It feels similar to Matt Campbell from last season, where people were just throwing the baby out with the bathwater on Matt
Right.
Campbell. It's like a lot of these people that are acting on emotion don't do their research on these coaches. I swear.
Yeah, I mean,
I,
yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
To your point, Dr. Buck, I remember defending him when people were saying after his bad season, I was like, they were like, Pat Narduzzi needs to be fired. And I even said he does this every time. He has one bad year and he follows it up with a great year to a good year. He's doing it again. That's his history.
Mm-hmm.
No, I agree with you.
He is a bare knuckle brawler.
Yeah.
You know, like you just back him into a corner and he'll fight his way out. Like it's
Sean, he's
just
a Youngstown guy. He's a Youngstown
yeah,
guy. He's got that
yeah,
Youngstown like
absolutely is.
tough guy mentality to him. You know.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, it's awesome to see that Pittsburgh is one of the remaining 10 unbeaten teams in all college football. I'm looking forward to that.
And I mean, like, like Narduzzi from Youngstown. David might know a little bit about this, but that might have something to do with his job security. Maybe he's got some connections.
I wasn't going to go there, Sean, but
In the
okay.
construction industry, maybe.
Oh wow, okay.
Maybe some trash disposal businesses.
Sanitation management or something like that. Is that where you're going with?
Yeah.
But yeah. So we saw Florida dominating Kentucky 48-20. And shout out to our buddy Tyler Whitfield on Florida at The Voice College Football, who has recently started a new show called Florida Gators Live at Florida at The Voice College Football. Tell everyone all about the Florida Gators and our friend Tyler Whitfield giving his takeaway on that. And I can tell you right now, if you're looking for top-notch Florida insider knowledge, Tyler Whitfield is your guy. He is somebody I recommend looking at by all means. Like, he gives top-notch insider coverage.
Boy, Billy Napier.
Jackson, I'm so glad you brought it.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead, Dr. Buckeye. My bad.
No, I was just
Go
going to
ahead.
say, I had a feeling that Billy Napier's season was not going to be good. Well, I think most people did from the start of the season, and it's not going to get any easier. It's interesting. I had thought Mullen had not necessarily left things in a good place at Florida. Although, you know what, in looking back on it, he recruited at a fairly higher level than I thought he did over his period of time. I actually had that discussion with Mark a few weeks back. I didn't realize that they had recruited at quite the level that they did, in Dan Mullen's tenure. So, but still, I don't know if he necessarily left it in the best place for Napier. And then the schedule, obviously, this year just didn't help. But, Florida's still a great job, by the way. Whoever's going to get that job after this season, it's still a place where you can win. I mean, obviously, the talent base, I mean, you would think if you get the right person in there, they should still be able to be Florida and be a good program. But I think Billy Napier's coaching on borrowed time. I just have to say that.
And the interesting thing is that I don't actually think Florida has as good of like a network of of big heeled donors as you would think they have right there. I mean, I don't know that there's, from what I understand, there's not necessarily as much cash running through that program as there is at other big time jobs. So I don't know. And I brought this point up a couple of times. Like, if you take out the Spurrier and Meyer era
Right.
at Florida, I mean, it is a lot of mediocrity, a lot of
It's
sludge.
abysmal.
Yeah.
And
Well,
that's not even really taking out that much. Spurrier was there for 12 years. Meyer was there for 6.
Right.
You know,
That's right.
but
Right.
so you remove that, and you've still got a lot of room, a lot of to judge like what this program really is, and it's not that great.
Yeah. Mullen got off to a good start, though. I thought Mullen was going to be better than he was at Florida, by the way.
Mhm.
I feel like with Billy Napier, I feel like what we needed to see is the team play with some pulse, right?
Right.
Because a lot of people thought, with the schedule, obviously it's daunting, but they're 4-3. They're sitting there 2 wins away. If they go 6-6 and win their bowl game, I could see them retaining Billy Napier because they look like a team with a pulse. They look like a team that wants to play. Like everyone thought they were going to be this dead in the water, not wanting to play for Billy Napier, just get him out of there, and here they are. They're still in the thick of things for a bowl opportunity.
And they do have one thing that every new coach covets, which is a super high level quarterback prospect.
Yeah.
So
That's true.
And one
so
question,
it's like,
one question for everybody:
yeah,
is 7-5 enough for Billy Napier to get that vote of confidence for 2025?
I doubt it.
Yes.
But
Hell to the no.
Okay.
Why
7 and
is that,
Yes.
Michigan man?
Okay, here's why, man. Well, it depends on their mindset. If Florida wants to be taken serious, they'll fire him when the season's over.
Okay.
Well, the question is who in the SEC do you get to replace Napier?
Urban Meyer.
Over, well,
Urban Meyer's
I don't think that
not
Urban's
wanting to
going
go
back to
back
Florida.
there.
I just don't.
He's not going to be Bill Snyder. That's not happening.
Yeah, I don't
Well,
see that
look, man,
happening.
they can't stick with Billy Napier, so I don't think it's a matter. It's not a matter of who you gonna get. It's a matter of how long are you gonna let Billy Napier turn you into a one of the worst programs in the country.
Well, all I
well,
can tell you is if you're going to
he's not.
fire,
Billy Napier is a good coach. He's
yeah.
probably in over his skis at Florida, but
Mhm.
like this team doesn't have a lot of talent, and they fought, and they got off to a rotten start. This season could have gone like terribly awful for them.
You know what though, Sean?
Miserable. And
Yes.
they've made something of the season, so you
I
got to
can
give
tell
him
you,
credit.
I can tell
How
you
did that
this
play?
though. I can tell you this though. If you're going to fire a coach, or if you're going to replace someone this goes with a lot of things in life. If you're ever going to replace someone, be sure you've got a plan A through Z in mind. You can't just have one
Mhm.
plan behind it. You got to have 10, 20, 30, 40 other plans behind it. That's what you got to do.
Mhm.
You can't just go, oh,
And
I'm mad, I'm throwing a fit at the grocery store, so I'm going to get rid of this person right away. Well, who are you going to get afterwards? That's what you really got to think.
Well,
You got to have 10,
and
20 people on your list.
to Sean's point, though, I mean, the Ron Zook era kind of limped along with 7-5, kind of 8-4 mediocrity there for a period of time, and then before Urban came along. By the way, Zook, most of those players on that 06 Florida team were Ron Zook's recruits. By the way, so there was a guy that could recruit, just couldn't coach. But
That was when Florida had a much better brand than it has now.
that's
But
true.
yeah,
That's true.
Mhm.
and to Jackson's question though, absolutely. Like even the chat, a couple people in the chat said if he goes 6-6, he's safe. It's because of the schedule. If they were playing a cupcake schedule, I could see the argument. But if they go 6-6, 7-5 with what they've been dealt with, you absolutely have to give him at least one more year. I would think, right?
Maybe.
Out of show of respect.
Possibly.
I mean, this is what to Jackson's point here. If you have a real good plan, if you have a coach that is superior, builder behind that you can get, I think you make that move. But if you don't, then yeah. I mean, you don't just fire him because you're unpleasant with how he's been producing. Like, you do have to have a plan. Like, you do have to feel like you can get a superior coach behind him because, like, I hate to bring everything back to the Michigan Ohio State thing, but Michigan wandered in the wilderness for 8 years.
Mm.
Because it's just like, yeah, Lloyd Carr's not doing it for us. I'm ready. Let him go. Okay, who are we going to hire?
To be fair, and
I
I've
don't
said this
know.
before,
Okay, yeah.
real quick, everybody wanted Rich Rod in 07.
Mhm.
I will say that. Even Jackson's team was ready to hire Rich Rod in
Yeah,
07. So let's I'm not going to give them
that
too
was in
much up for
06,
that.
but yeah, but
Okay.
Yeah, and it's like our friend at the network, Jeffrey at Only Taught Sports, who's a contributor to Alabama with the Voice College Football and host of Hoosiers Live on Indiana Voice College Football. Check him out. Anyway, he talked about the other day. He and I were talking. We talked about it on the Thursday call-in show for Alabama with the Voice College Football and on the Alabama postgame show last night. We talked about how perception changes
Yeah.
really fast.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
because and it was funny though. Like, we all talk about how god awful Scott Frost is.
Yeah.
We thought it was a great hire by Nebraska. We were like in love with it when he got hired. Like, a lot of us were.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah,
that's
I mean,
What do you get at
and
UCF?
that Scott Frost situation. I mean, it's kind of unfortunate. I talked to someone who's
I think Sean
sort of
Kitty has a
indie.
degree.
Yeah,
Hey,
well,
hey, Kitty.
hey, no. So I mean, like, there were some unfortunate behind the things situations going on with and Link. See, he loves the voice of college football.
Yeah, that's right. I think
There
we
you
could.
go,
Yeah, you might
Link.
want to. Yeah, send an email to Mark. See if you can get him to be the mascot of the voice of college football.
Absolutely.
But it
What
goes
do
to
you think?
No,
We
but I mean, like, yeah, the Scott Frost situation. That was. I mean, I felt bad for the entire Nebraska community because that is like maybe the best fan base in college football. They didn't deserve to have what happened there because I think there were things going on with Scott Frost behind the scenes.
Well, and
That really sabotaged that whole venture.
so
Yeah.
now that Kentucky has gotten smacked by Florida 48-20. Now, there's been some rumblings in the Kentucky media and in the Kentucky fan base, like, there's just some infighting within Kentucky about what's the plan with Mark Stoops. What do we do, Scoob? What are we gonna do with Mark Stoops? Hey, Mark Stoops was there when it sucked. You're gonna trash him now? That Me personally, I'm like, let Mark Stoops stay as long. Let him stay forever at Kentucky for all I care. I mean, Kentucky's never gonna win an SEC title in college football. That's just never gonna happen.
Right.
So
I mean, it's unlikely. So
because it was like, because you rarely don't think of Kentucky as like a winning football program. You usually think of them as a top-notch college basketball program.
Sure.
So yeah, I don't see them doing any better than Mark Stoops, at least for now. I just don't see it.
Jackson, I just want to say it's also what your expectation levels are for your program. And where your program was at in the
True.
past, and do you expect to just be an 8-4, 9-3, and if you're happy with that, and I'm sure a lot of their fan base isn't happy, or is not completely unhappy, I should say, with an 8-4, 9-3 type seasons. And Stoops gets the talent that he can get. He's gotten some Ohio talent to come in there that Ohio State has not recruited over the years, and he's done pretty well with it. He's done pretty well with it. So I think you got to give him credit.
And where's Stoops from, by the way?
Shout out Youngstown. Shout out
Yep.
Youngstown.
Yeah, we've mentioned a couple of coaches from Youngstown. It's Cradle coaches. Cardinal Mooney.
See, the thing that irritates me with Mark Stoops is the fact that he'll always win one odd game, no matter what it is, and Jackson can even attest to this.
Yeah.
I try to warn him about Mark Stoops. I said, don't you pick them again in these certain games. And Jackson's like, they're going to get smacked. And then they end up winning, like Ole Miss this past year. No one thought Kentucky had a chance in that game, right? Did anyone think Kentucky had a chance?
Yeah.
I thought they had a chance, a slim one, small one.
I thought they completely outplayed Georgia, by the way. And they've outplayed Georgia in the trenches, by the way, in that game. I mean, they were – if he'd have made the right decision on a fourth down call in that game, they might have pulled out that Georgia game. I watched that game from start to finish.
And see, this is what to me like separates Georgia from Ohio State this year. I mean, Dr. Buckeye, can you imagine Ohio State playing a team at the caliber of Kentucky and getting like kind of like controlled for a whole game this year? Like that's just like the difference in the maturity level, I think, between the two teams. But that's why I have Ohio. I thought Ohio State was the best team coming into this year because like. The best team shouldn't be getting handled by Kentucky.
I tend to agree with you. I remember in 2018 when we lost, like barely won at Maryland, the 50-something to 50-something game. And people were freaking out after that. Even that was a classic example.
They should have been. They should have been. That was a terrible performance. It was awful.
It was, but but to your point, Georgia's performance would be deemed awful against Kentucky.
Yeah, exactly. I'm consistent on this. I'm not biased here. Like Ohio State has a mature team. Oh, I guess we lost Michigan, man, but we weren't talking about Michigan enough, I guess, to keep his attention. But no, like I mean, these are the questions I have about Georgia this year. It's like God, all these players getting in trouble for like really like just dumb judgment. It's not to cast judgment on them as people, because I was 20 at one point too.
Sure.
And who knows what the fuck I might have gotten in trouble with. Then, but it was like, I was an immature prick too at one point.
We all
like I mean, this is in fact I shared a story about that earlier on the podcast. So
there you go. Sorry I missed that one, Sean.
Yeah.
But,
so but no, like I just like this. Like I was saying, like this Georgia team just doesn't seem to have that championship DNA this year. Where I think Ohio State does. I think, however good Ohio State does this year, like I'm not going to fault the individuals, the players. I feel like they've bought in and they've sold out.
Yeah,
that's what I feel.
Yeah, I think it speaks well for the culture. I've said that since the players came back and committed to what they've committed to. So,
well, and speaking of a team that may forget the fact that they got a huge buyout to think about, it's Florida State.
Yeah.
I know we're talking a little bit
more than $5 million.
Yeah, that's bad.
Jackson.
I know. It's the first time in school history that the Duke Blue Devils have beaten the Florida State Seminoles. And
first time ever.
Can I say something real quick? I am still a Mike Norvell fan, maybe. I'm going to go down with the boat with Mike Norvell, I guess.
Okay.
I think that I still think the guy's a solid
God bless your
coach.
soul.
I know, but and I know last year's team was what the classic example is. That was a team last year a lot built on the transfer portal. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
They did really well in the transfer portal last year. And, it's unfortunate what happened to Jordan Travis, or that team would have been in the playoff. And some would say they still got hosed out of being in the playoff. But in any case, I still think Norvell, and in that conference, that program can still be competitive. Are we saying that Norvell gets let go at the end of the year? Because I don't think he does.
No.
Okay.
That's not happening. I don't see like Mike Norvell being let go. That's I don't see that happening at the end of
But-
the year. That there would have to be some really bad off-campus stuff going on for
Okay.
them to figure it
See,
out.
see. Here's the thing. Here's the problem though I have with this conversation about Mike Norvell's job security is that for him to secure it, he has to have. He's going to be on a hot seat next year if they keep him, and they probably will. But he'll still
Yeah.
be on a hot seat. Like the best way to like get yourself off of that hot seat is to win immediately. What's the best way to win immediately? Get guys out of the portal.
Yeah.
But this
Yeah.
is but this is like part of the high volatility like plan. Like if you rely on the portal to do that,
Yeah.
I mean like it's just going to be very high variance. You're going to either getting a lot of Jared Verse, Keon Coleman, Braden Fisk type of guys. You're going to get what you have this year.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like, I mean, like if you want to fix what ails him and you want to keep him on, then you have to give him a longer leash than that. You have to say like, okay, I don't care what you do in 2025. You're solid. You're good. Just get the program into a more stable, foundational place.
And
Like,
the
Right.
team
get it to where we can actually like build a program rather than be a
exactly.
free agency haven year to year.
Yeah, and I don't really like what Florida State did. Like, they've honestly they have been living on what could have been
Mm.
throughout the season, throughout the off season, to the point where it's just clouded their judgment.
Mm. Yeah,
It's
possibly.
you can't
it's
be doing it.
So go ahead.
see the thing with me is about this, and I've said it with multiple people. They were a 13-0 team. They won the ACC, and now they're downgraded to this. I get it. Teams have a rough period. Not everybody could stay up like the Ohio States and Alabamas and all of them. We get that. They're in a different league. But at some point, you have to take responsibility as a coach and be like, hey, this is on me. This is no longer on our players' effort. I have to mentally get them ready and prepared to play.
Mhm.
Like, and I'm sure Mike Norvell has taken responsibility and said, hey, this is on
Yeah.
me. I need to be a better leader.
Yeah, it's funny. He's not a coward about this. He's taking accountability publicly for their failures this season. Like he's been noble in that regard.
It'll be
Okay,
interesting to
good.
see their off season though, if he has to retool his staff and really make like a lot of changes though too.
Yeah,
think
yeah,
it's
but,
gonna
but it's what I'm saying. Like if he has to make holistic changes to the program and it's kind of sacrifice success for 1 year,
Yeah.
it'll probably cost him his job.
Well,
So
but here,
huh?
but he is coaching in the ACC, which is still a
Yep.
doable conference to win football
Yep.
games in. That's what I'm saying.
Right, you're right.
Agreed. But how are we feeling about Manny Diaz's first year at Duke so far? There's 6
I'm
and
loving
1.
it.
Could we
I
see
was-
Duke as an ACC contender?
Yes. I was all for that hire. I was one of the first people on that bandwagon. I know a lot of people were 50-50. They were like, this is a bad hire. And some people were good, somewhere in the middle. And I think, honestly, James Franklin should get a lot of credit for this because he kind of revitalized his career, giving him a
Wow.
defensive coordinating job at Penn State. Like, I truly believe that. Like, I feel
Oscar,
like
were
if he didn't go under the – go ahead,
Yeah.
Dr. Buckeye.
No, I'm just saying. I was going to give you a chide you about giving James Franklin credit for anything, because he takes a lot of arrows.
No.
Look at Manny Diaz.
Duke has had a laughable schedule so far. Like they have played a group of 5 schedule to this point in the season.
Well, I will say though, Duke
Their toughest opponent has been Georgia Tech
Uh-huh.
this year.
Well, next Saturday they've got SMU on the ACC network at 8 p.m. Eastern time, and the week after that is the Miami game on the road. So this This is appropriately titled "Separating the Pretenders from the Contenders." We're gonna see whether Duke is a pretender or a contender for the ACC in the next 2 weeks.
Yep,
Mhm.
absolutely. And you know what? If they can get through SMU this week, which is doable, like that's probably like a 55-45. SMU probably maybe should win, but Duke can definitely do it kind of game. And then, go ahead.
No, I just want to say I just think this conference is going to come down to really just Miami and Clemson. I just think these two teams are just right there as the two best teams in this conference. I do
Yeah.
think Syracuse versus Miami late in the year, that Honda Cam Ward matchup is just fascinating to me. By the way, that's the one ACC game I have to see, other than maybe the title game between Miami and Clemson, that I'm looking forward to the most.
Do you
Syracuse
thi-
Pittsburgh. That's
do you think
another
Pitt
conference
has?
game. Yeah,
Go
Syracuse
ahead.
Pitt.
I'm sorry, Austin.
Another.
I was about to
Yeah.
say when Jackson brought it up,
Exactly.
but Pittsburgh, do you think
He's talking about
they
that.
got an
Yeah.
outside chance?
I mean, I don't think they're a great team, but I mean, I think they can win a lot of the games that are on their schedule. So it's they can stay in contention for a while. And
Yeah.
that's Pitt. That's how Pitt kind of won the ACC a couple years ago.
Right.
Was,
Yeah. And I will, and it'll be fun to see what happens in the ACC this week. Well, this next week for week 9.
Yeah. Yeah,
And we're gonna
big one,
find-
big one. But that is a big one Thursday night. Honda McCord goes into Heinz Field.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mhm.
That will be that's going to be an interesting game. Pitt's offense though has kind of been fun to watch this year a little bit. I think that
Yes.
I could definitely see some points in that game.
They're like super hit or miss. Like they will go
Yeah,
long
Eli
stretches where they do nothing, and then like Eli Holstein will just like start to look like Joe Montana for a
Well,
Right.
few drives, and
one of
I mean, like,
one of the perfect
it's
examples.
go ahead.
One of the perfect example. I was going to say, Sean. One of the perfect examples is the game against Cincinnati. They were trailing 24-6, I believe, and they came back and won that. That's a perfect example.
It's just, I mean that wound is still fairly fresh to me. That is. I mean, I think I'm from the opposite side of the state as Dr. Buckeye here.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm the northeastern part of this. Yeah.
Yeah. So, ugh.
And
Yeah.
besides BYU Oklahoma State, were there any games that we missed? Like Oregon Purdue, we missed that one, I think, because I mean Oregon's
Yeah.
now number 1 in the nation in the top 25 AP
Well, I'll tell you one game you very
Merrimack,
yeah.
there's
Yeah, there we
Merrimack,
go.
yeah,
Yeah.
and
These
Dr.
Stonehill
Buckeye,
pretenders.
because you're on the CFB After Dark panel,
Yes.
this is like a running gag we've been doing since spring of
No,
2020.
it's not a gag. Everyone's a Merrimack fan across the country, right?
Okay.
Well, this is like the running gag of the show. Is like we often talk about Merrimack at least once during the show because like Jason O brought it up, and it was around like April because like we were bored. We didn't really have much to talk about. And yep, there's our guy Jason O talking about Stonehill and Merrimack. Merrimack won 48-28. And Merrimack's now 3-4 in all in the FCS.
Yes.
Yes.
The strong, the very strong FCS independent. They will be playing host to Colgate this week. Colgate's having kind of a down year. They're 1-6 right now, so I expect our Warriors to pull
I
through.
think it was you, I believe it was you, Jason O, and Sean Garner that started it. So, yeah. So
I
y'all,
wish I
y'all
had
kinda,
something to
Yes,
add on that one, guys, but I really don't. I'm sorry.
yes, yes.
oh, that's okay. You're good. You don't
Fun,
have
fun,
to.
fun fact about Merrimack. Merrimack is where Carl Yastrzemski finished
I
his.
kind of got dragged into the Mary Matt discussion, but it's like
It's
picking
where
and
Carl
choosing.
Yastrzemski, who played baseball at Notre Dame, finished his education while he was playing for
Well,
the Red Sox.
Kansas is kind of
So
like my Mary. Kansas is like
his degree is a Merrimack degree. Actually, he
There you go.
graduated from
Kansas is
Merrimack,
kind
not
of like
Notre
my
Dame.
Mary Matt, because guess what they did? They finally won 42-14, and Colorado dominated Arizona 34-7. Texas Tech is basically a pretender as Baylor beat them 59-35.
Yes,
TCU
I made a
smacked.
big mistake.
Well, not smack. TCU won a tight one against Utah, 13-7, and apparently it was enough to send Andy Ludwig in the retirement because he stepped down as of today.
Wow. What is happening with Utah this year, by the way? I was
They've
big
got
on
a
Utah.
failure
Cam Rising's legs
as
just
that fat
basically fell
dude
off.
from as that
Yeah.
fat Warden
So,
dude from Cool Hand Luke said, "What we've got here is failure to communicate. Some men you just can't reason with them. Listen, we had this incident last week. Well, he gets it.
Not bad, Jackson.
I'm doing my
Yeah,
best. I watch a lot of that. I watch a lot of like some of that old stuff over the years, so it's like it works out perfectly. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what goes on in the Big 12, and including with what happened Friday night with BYU and Oklahoma State. Who says that After Dark is gone? There's Big 12 After Dark, AC After Dark, Big 10 After Dark. I mean, this is why I make sure to stay up late as much as possible for Friday night, Saturday night, because like I know I'm gonna miss something.
Friday nights had some good games. I will say that. Although we've talked, my buddy Zach Smith talked about it on his podcast, where he has indicated he doesn't like the fact that it negatively affects high school football. You know, because as a person that actually I do enjoy high school football, that's putting on these games up against some of the high school games because he's a fan and I'm a fan as well. So it's kind of creates a bit of a conflict that's not always for the best. But
definitely,
I got.
definitely.
I
I
gotta
mean,
say,
like,
I made a.
go ahead, Austin.
I was just gonna say, I was just gonna say, I made a big mistake on Texas Tech. I was thinking they were legit. Like I was thinking, okay, maybe they finally got their defense together. They weren't giving up as many points, and then they do this.
yeah.
Like seriously.
Well, there were some buyers in BYU though too at the beginning of the year. I thought. Did I see BYU picked by some people to make a playoff this year?
You know the over under I believe was 4.5 wins in the preseason. Now they're looking
Oh
like
wow.
yeah. Not a lot of people have faith in them,
Wow, that's unbelievable.
and they
No,
I know.
well, I mean, like, I think at the media days they were picked like near like 15th or 16th in this
what did
conference.
you
They're picked very, very low.
Okay.
gentlemen
There was not much expected of BYU this year at all. They're like, along with
oh yeah.
Indiana, surprise of the entire
Gentlemen,
season.
I know I watched BYU Oklahoma State. Who watched the most of it? And chat, if you watched it, what did you think of BYU Oklahoma State?
Oh, I watched almost the whole game there.
See,
So yeah, it
Me
was.
too.
Yeah,
Is this
It was a fun game.
I was pulling very hard for Oklahoma State because I had a money line bet on the Cowboys here, so and I feel good about that money line bet, even though it didn't hit.
yeah.
I was on the right side of
I
it.
would.
Austin,
I will.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, Mike Gundy finally decided to use Smalley Gordon, and then the defense gives up on him. Like unbelievable.
Is this one of the worst Gundy teams, by the way, of recent years? By the way, I mean, I know there wasn't
Worst
much.
in 2012.
Yeah,
Worst in
much expected
2012,
of this
worst
team.
in 2006 and 2005.
Yeah,
They're the most overrated team I remember in history. And, and like, to be honest with you, a lot of people picked them to win the Big 12. And they haven't lived up to that because they can't stop turning the ball over. Their run game isn't consistent, and their defense. Some weeks you get it, some weeks you don't.
see, I had seen some interesting picks to win the Big 12 at the beginning of the year. I liked Utah at the beginning of the year, like a lot of other people did. And then, I saw some people that actually like Kansas State to start the season, and some other picks for the Big 12. But I thought there was a lot of people that did not have high expectations for this Oklahoma State team and thought this would be kind of a down year. And then they got to the title game last year, so it's interesting, a bit of a drop off this year for Gundy's team.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like I feel like this the whole Big 12 conference is just a game of boggle or something. Like
Yeah.
you just what's that game? You press the button down and then I mean you press that dome down and with the dice and then any results don't surprise me in this league. Like it's
Oh,
just
I don't know why, but like the red.
is anyone that much better than anyone else in this league? I don't think so. I really
Right.
don't. You know?
I think, and I'll be honest with you, I'm really excited about where rivalry week is headed because, I mean, of course, we'll have Ohio State, Michigan, we'll have Alabama, Auburn, Texas A&M,
Right.
but we also could have Iowa State, Kansas State. If things stand as they are right now, they could be playing for a spot for the second spot of the Big 12 title game.
Yeah.
That could happen, and I'm
Are we,
already excited.
It's possible they could play back to back,
are we
right?
convinced though that only one Big 12 team gets in though? Because I'm thinking only one Big 12 team makes it this year.
Yes.
Yeah, I think
More than
the
likely,
Big
like
12
more than likely, it would take some collapses from some Big 10 or SEC teams for
I
that to
think
happen.
maybe it would take
Yeah.
BYU and Iowa State going unbeaten, and I think they're going to have to score style points. I'm thinking like 1999 Packers Panthers style points, where like the
Okay.
Panthers were scoring an ass load of points against the Cardinals, and the Saints. The Packers were scoring a lot of points against the Cardinals as well, which later turned out that was all for nothing.
Right.
But still, though, I would not be surprised if we see some teams considering that. And frankly, I think teams in the ACC and the Big 12 that are like in playoff contention should consider doing that to get the playoff committee's attention. I think they should do that.
Style points. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Because like, why
Well,
get 60 with 10 seconds?
I would ask this one question real quick. I know we're getting kind of late here, but
Yeah.
Yep.
which conference is more likely to get a second bid, the ACC or the Big 12 right
No
now?
question.
Hands down the
The
ACC. I think it's the ACC. Yeah. Because
ACC.
I think both Clemson and Miami are going to make it. Just my view.
I think it's the Big 12.
Okay.
Really?
I think it's the Big 12. And here's why. Because I feel like Miami, like you said, they've been playing on that minefield, and their
Mhm.
schedule today, they have no ranked wins as we sit today, where BYU and Iowa State would have possibly a ranked win on there, and possibly two. If Iowa gets ranked again, that would go in Iowa State's favor if they happen to lose.
And this was a topic we talked about tonight, perception. At the time SMU lost to BYU, people knocked on them for losing to BYU. Matter of fact, they knocked on them for their close win against Nevada.
But that was looked at as a completely irrelevant game, right? It's just like,
Yeah.
okay,
It was
these
on
are
Friday,
these are two bottom tier like Power Four teams. Like, who cares, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
But it may be
And-
very significant.
Yeah,
You know?
'cause, I mean that's the thing about perception. It changes really quick, especially in the world of college football. And Troy V says if the powers that be can find any way to get Colorado in, they will put them in. Way too much TV money with them right now. Yeah, because let's not forget Colorado's still in conference contention. Oh, and Cincinnati caught Arizona State napping, although Arizona State's QB was out due to injuries, so that hurt them quite
And
a
their
lot.
kicking game is atrocious.
Does a win over a team with Jeff Sims at QB count? Does it? Should it? Should it?
Can I
Well,
make? Okay, go ahead.
I don't think I'd be bragging about beating a Jeff Sims team, but that's just me now. But Dr. Buckeye, what are you going to say?
No, just a quick point. And I got to run, but Colorado is just one of those teams that I always feel win or lose. I just enjoy watching. And it's because of the star power of their team. You know, I enjoy watching obviously Shador or Travis Hunter, of course, or even the other receiver, Joe Horn, who's also really Junior is a real dynamic player. They just have these few exciting players, and they always get in these games where it's like a shootout, or you get a Hail Mary, or you get, it's just fun kind of to watch Colorado play from time to time because they get involved in some of these just intriguing games. That's all I wanted to say.
Well,
And when was the last time Colorado football was fun at all?
True.
1990.
Right.
No,
The 90s,
no. Like the early 2000s, some
That's
of those
right.
teams were pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
early 2001 team, Gary Barnett had a good team there, like
True.
early
Yep.
2000s.
And yeah, was it? That was the 2001 team where they went on the road and just destroyed Nebraska.
Right.
Black Friday, yep.
Yep.
And we would like to let you know, Dr. Buckeye, before you go, you're
Yes.
always welcome to come on here on CFB After Dark. We're always happy to have a
Thank
lot
you.
of panel members on CFB After Dark. The more the merrier. Because, I'll be honest, I'm surprised I haven't seen you, hosting a show. I've seen you making calls. You're a genius, man.
Well,
I like the
genius
setup you
can be a
got with
little
the
bit.
mic. Has anybody told you, you got an offset, with the hat, the mic, everything? I mean, that's
Well,
awesome.
Well, I appreciate it, Jackson. I'm always willing to accept the praise, but I enjoy Mark's channel and just always like supporting it. Sean, a pleasure speaking to you. Oh, we have an Oregon fan chiming in right now.
He's back from his concert.
Absolutely not. I will not accept the blasphemy that I've been hearing for the last an hour and a half about Oregon. Number one, baby.
Hey, well deserved.
No one said anything.
No, I don't think there's been negativity. Has there been negativity?
Number one, baby.
Oregon?
Number one.
Congrats.
No. Congrats, man. Y'all earned it. Just don't blow it.
Hopefully for longer than 2012.
Good show, guys. Thanks again. Take care.
Take care. Take care, Dr. Buckeye.
Yep. See ya.
There we go.
I ran off one Buckeye. That's good. Let's run off the other one.
Oh man. Well, Bam, what did you think about what happened with this week in all college football?
He wasn't paying attention. He's been blacked out since.
I'm pretty fucking buzzed. I'm just waiting on Sam to go to bed. That's all.
All righty, man. And I guess we're gonna be heading off here in a little bit. But Sean, where can they stalk you online?
Oh, you guys already know where you can stalk me. Drop the X link. Twitter link. Fuck X. X doesn't exist. But yeah, that's where you can stalk me. And like I said earlier in the program, if you happen to be around the 616 or even the 231, I'll make a trip down to hang out with you.
There we go.
Yeah.
We've been good to Oregon.
Austin, where can they find you debating a certain somebody about certain topics?
Oh, yes. If you want to see me and Jackson go at it like two cats in an alley, if I got some news for you people. Yeah. But you can find me on X, of course, and on my YouTube channel, Sports Talk with Austin 2002, where me and Jackson have our 2 weekly shows. We get into topics about whether Indiana's a playoff team or not, Is Brian Kelly a legit winning coach? We talked about Ryan Day. We talked about Oregon and their chances. We get into it all, but those where you can find me. Jackson, where can people stalk you? Because
we have
they
an
love
argument
you.
about whether Brian Kelly is a winning coach.
Yes, because Jackson over here, he's over here like, I need to see Brian Kelly win a big game, and he is winning big games. But Jackson's like, no,
He
he's
can win
not.
big
It's not a
games in the
playoff game. He's
regular
not winning.
season, but he can't win big games in the postseason to save his life. And I'm not talking about the ReliaQuest Bowl against Purdue.
See, Sean, you're going to get me started again. I'm to defend Brian Kelly over here.
No, he is getting me started here.
Like, because I've told Jackson, I think Brian Kelly's the top 5 head coach in all the 4, and Jackson don't want to believe it.
He's got to win some playoff games first. So
You just wait, Jackson. Wait till LSU wins the SEC.
Jackson, you are an Alabama man. Did you not recognize
there is bias?
When Brian Kelly went to Mobile, Alabama in 2002 and 2003 and won national championships for the Grand Valley State Lakers?
Yeah, he won in Grand Valley State.
Exactly.
But
yes, hell yeah,
he's not winning FBS national titles. He couldn't lead Notre Dame to a natty, and I don't think he's going to lead LSU to a natty.
But Grand Valley State is a better place to be than both of those places. So who cares?
Time out.
He delivered a natty in the heart of Allendale, Michigan. Okay, two national championships to the heart of Allendale. Right in
Sean,
45.
I'm throwing the challenge flag here.
Go ahead.
Yeah, we're
Jackson,
not
do you
saying
realize
what?
Okay, Jackson, let me put this out here. He took Notre Dame to the playoffs twice and got them to natty.
But
and this was at a point when Notre Dame
didn't win a playoff
but
game.
Here's the thing, though. They were in a down
title at Notre
They were in a down period, and he got them.
It doesn't matter.
They were in a down period, and he
get it done there. What makes me think he's going to get it done?
But he got him to the big game.
Not going to.
Because LSU doesn't make their freshmen take. Because LSU doesn't make their freshmen take calculus.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
What?
LSU's not going to win it all under Brian Kelly. Okay.
I don't know what the fuck people are talking about. I'm just enjoying pretzel sticks, so I give
Hey, Ben, who'd you see tonight?
Corn.
Corn.
There you go.
Nice. Wait, was it the full? Was it the full band? Was Jonathan?
Yeah, no, full band.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've seen him multiple times. Sam had never seen him, so he was like, I want to see him at least.
Really?
This is like his year of like, we got to see a couple bands one time before potentially never being able to see him again, kind of thing. That's his deal this year. So I'm like, that's fine, whatever.
Yeah, shit, man. I think those fucking those guys have got to be like in their 50s now, right? At least.
Yeah. Oh yeah. They're like 52, 53, 54 ish. Yeah, they're up there. So it's kind of the same as like our Limp Bizkit concert. It was like, are you gonna get to see them again? Sum 41. They're on their finale tour. Like it was like go see them one time at least.
There we go. Well, and before I go, Ben, you can check me out on Jackson Johnson 979 on YouTube. You can check me out on Jackson BOCFB on X and on Instagram threads on Jackson Johnson 543908. And of course, you can check me out on Alabama with the Voice of College Football, where we are looking to get 2,500 subs. And of course, we will be having the host of Missouri Live, Zach Remulus, joining Johnny and myself discussing the takeaways on what is going on with the Alabama Crimson Tide and the Missouri Tigers. And let me tell you something, that's going to be a fun ride. Ben, where can they find you online? And you did an episode for Dots Live today. How about that? And congrats on them being number one in the nation.
Don't blow it.
I hope it's not a curse. Yeah, I really hope. No, as the thing is that, and I didn't come on here to take over the show by all means. Jackson, you're running this bitch tonight.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's not a curse though, because last time the Ducks were ranked number one, it lasted 1 week, and we lost by 3 in overtime to Stanford at home. So hopefully that's not a curse.
Well, maybe it won't be. Because I can tell you right now, that looks like a team that could win it all. I really think they could. But with that being said,
Oh boy,
I'll tell you right now, I'm just really hoping there's not we don't have like a 30-minute discussion on Brian Kelly next week, but I got a feeling we will. Because like there's plenty of other games.
Yes, we will. Yes, we will, Jackson. Especially if they beat Texas A&M. Oh, yes, they will. I will be insufferable.
But that's a big regular season win. They can win in the regular season. I want to see what they can do in the postseason. That's gonna be the thing, though. But meantime, before we go, we wish y'all a good night and sleep well, and to give Joey, our friend Joey Foster, our prayers, and let him know you're thinking about him. And
absolutely, no question. And let's pit those Colgate Raiders ass next week. All right.
There we go. And
Wait, was that a reference from Merrimack?
Yeah, it might have been. Yes.
Fuck yeah, let's fucking go.
There we go. Let's go, Merrimack.
Crest all the way.
Young man, Mark said no F-bombs. Go put $5 in the swear jar. This is a PG show,
okay,
man.
Yeah.
I'll
put $5. I will put $5 in the swear jar right now. Okay.
Well, gentlemen, it's that line we're waiting
wait,
for.
Wait. No, it's not, Jackson. Hold on. Yeah. You respect your super chats, don't you?
Oh, we got a super chat?
Oh. Did you miss super chats?
No, we got 2 super chats. Nice. Swear jar. There you go. God. Nice.
Let me go get my wallet. Hold on.
Oh, nice. Oh, thank you, good boy. We appreciate the contribution at the Voice of College Football. We appreciate it very much. And tell your friends, your family, and the cashier at Kroger about the magic that Sean Garner produces, along with Ben and myself and Austin and plenty of other contributors at the Voice of College Football every Sunday night. Swear, Jat.
Yeah. Shut up, Derail.
See, here's the thing. We have to keep order, or else Mark's going to fire everybody. Well, not you, Jackson.
No. I mean, you don't realize the format of this program. Like, if there is order, that's a problem. There's not supposed to be. That's why he's been in charge of it.
What do you expect at 12:35 a.m. Central on a Sunday night? What do you expect?
Dinner. But anyway, it's all good. There ain't so I guess we could start the line now, gentlemen. Sean, you ready?
Wait, no. Austin, have you ever done this solo?
No, but I know the line. Jackson's been training.
I know you know the line. That's why it's your turn. Yeah.
There we go.
Okay.
There you go, Austin.
Who's hitting the button?
I've got the button.
Pop-Tart, play us out, baby. Whoop that butt.
Ooh, yeah.
He likes it all creamy.
Ducks number 1. Who cares about that Pop-Tart tonight? Ducks number 1.